Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Big Apple Hockey, where we are getting just a little bit closer to the start of training camps, preseason, actual hockey to discuss. That is what we are craving for. And as I say right down in my line right here, need me some hockey. I, of course, am your host, Marc Williams. Happy to be back once again, talking more pucks with you guys right now, joined by the host of the final buzzer, Mr. John Filkowski.
We are Ryan Lindgren days away, people. 55 days. So just remember that. We're getting closer.
And every little bit we get closer, Filk, is huge because, of course, it's for the Ranger fans. I don't know. I kind of want to have the slogan for this season for almost the Rangers and the Islanders. Let's get this over with. Because I think the Islanders, they just want to get to where it's all these draft picks are coming up. And for the Rangers, I don't think this season is going to be very pretty. But we're going to talk more about that because Killjoy did have that question or the comment, I should say, for us before. And don't forget, everybody, make sure you like and subscribe, not just the Rangers, but the NHL as well. So let's get to the A block right now, where we've been saving this topic for a while. And finally, Filk and I are going to go into depth on this. But don't forget that the A block is brought to you by SeatGeek. Use the promo code Big Apple Hockey for $20 off your first order, especially if you want like Nate Bargatze seats. I don't know how to pronounce his name anyway. He's funny. I was looking at tickets for him next month. But also Big Apple Hockey shirts and trucker hats are available. I decided to actually, spruce myself up and clean up. So that's why I'm not wearing mine right now. And don't forget, check out some of the videos that we've been doing all along throughout the summer, like Filk's video on the best top overall draft picks in NHL history. But let's get to that A block, Filk, where Artemi Panarin is entering the final year of his 7-year, $11.642 million deal. The year the deal that he spurned the New York Islanders. So he spurned the New York Islanders. Let's get the clean sentence out there. And has a full no movement clause. In 3 of those years, the New York Rangers have made the playoffs. 2 of those 3 years, they've made the conference finals. Panarin, varying successes in the playoffs. We're going to get more to that in a minute. But Panarin, 95 points in his first season with the New York Rangers. That is the most for any UFA to have in their first year of a new contract. Panarin with the New York Rangers, 430 games, 186 goals, 364 assists, 550 points. That puts him for 12th all-time on the New York Rangers list. And Panarin will be 55. Panarin will be 35 when the contract starts. He didn't age 20 years in one. So anyway, Filk, no more mistakes aside, since now you're going to get to do a lot more talking. Should the Rangers re-sign Artemi Panarin, and what is his future with the Blue Shirts?
Should they? I've leaned towards no for a while, just because I think that they need to move in a different direction. I think last season aged me about 20 years, but that's another story. I just think that they should be moving in a different direction. When I said that they brought in JT Miller, I said that that was going to be the first in the line of a series of culture-changing moves, where they wanted to change the culture in the locker room and really kind of get away from being a softer, more perimeter team that can't attack the middle and doesn't have what it takes to really go all the way in the playoffs. Now, I do think that they've made more moves towards that. Their drafting of Malcolm Spence with their first pick in this year's draft definitely signifies that they're looking for tougher players that are harder to play against, bigger pains in the asses, guys that really kind of bring it physically. And I really do wonder if that's going to carry over to Artemi Panarin. I think it depends on a couple of things. One, where are they come trade deadline? Are they a team that's almost out of the picture, or are they completely out of the picture? Are they a team that's firmly in a playoff spot that looks like they're going to make the playoffs? That could contribute to it. Also, can they make any moves next offseason? Are they going to make a big trade the next offseason? Does Alexei Lafreniere take the next step?
That's going to be a big one.
That's going to be to me, I think that's the biggest factor is does Alexei Lafreniere take the next step? Because if you have him and Will Cooley take the next step this year, and Will Cooley and Alexei Lafreniere are 30-goal guys, Alexei Lafreniere is like a point-per-game player or so, maybe just under, and Will Cooley is a 50, 60-point player. I mean, you have two left wings right there, of the future. That's your one and your two, and you can build around those guys. If not, then maybe they are looking at bringing him back on a reduced deal at a lower AAV. That's another thing. Does Artemi Panarin want to come back for something close to what he's making now, or does he want to take a discount and still stay in New York?
Let me ask you that question. Which one do you think he's trying to do?
I think he wants something close to what he's making.
Which is going to be unreasonable.
I don't know. I don't think unreasonable, but I think he's going to want like $8-9 million. And he's probably still worth that on the market at his age. But it also depends. The market could shape up and work against him, and then he could end up being back here. We've seen that happen with players before. They misplay their cards, and they end up on either PTOs or taking deals for like half of what they were looking for. Look at Jamie Benn. Who thought Jamie Benn was going to be back in Dallas for $1 million?
Yeah.
I mean, 9.5 was not – that was nowhere in discussion. Like, he was not making that amount again. But I thought like $4 million, something like that, 4.5 for Jamie
maybe from
Benn.
like a Toronto or somebody like that.
Yeah, not even Dallas could have – he could have went back from Dallas to anywhere between $3 to $5 million. And I think that would have been a fine contract for Jamie Benn. Like, he's still got something in the tank. But and not that I think Artemi Panarin is going to decline that hard, and he's going to be a half point per game player or something like that. I still think this is a guy that could score a point per game in the right situations. But it really depends on what he does this year. Is he going to have a 90 to 100 point season? It's going to be a tougher discussion at that point. If he's only scoring like 70 points and he looks like he's slow and behind the play, I mean, that's going to make the Rangers' decision that much easier. So, I mean, the deadline is really the key thing here. Where are they? What type of season is he having? What type of season are the other wingers on the team having? Does Gabe Perreault come up? Does he look like he's the real deal? Or does he struggle? And is he in the minors? I mean, there are so many factors that play in here. So it's not an easy question to answer. Should? I say no personally. Will they? That's another story. And that's to be determined.
And again, unfortunately, it is a to be determined thing because look, we know about the offseason, the off ice issues that were there. Whether or not you want to say they're an issue or not, they're issues. Sorry, guys. It's just a fact. But let's get to the on ice issues. He's going to be 35 at the start of this new contract. Filk, I tried to look up different guys to compare him to. And one guy that's coming along, I mean, Martin St. Louis, I accidentally just X'd out of my notes on him. But Martin St. Louis is a guy I looked at. Maybe he compares to him. St. Louis still had, at 37, a 60-point season that led the NHL. That was in 48 games. The next year, though, 69 points, 30 goals, 39 assists, and then 61 points in 2013, 2014 between the Rangers and the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then a 52-point season, and then he was done. So that's really the healthy guy. You look at Patrick Kane, whose production he hasn't topped 59 points since that hip has been a problem. That was in the 21-22 season, but then he got the hip fixed. So, I mean, you can't really go with that on age either. I tried Paul Correa, but we know concussions had a problem there, Filk. It's hard to get that definitive player that you could look at and go, this is the guy I compare Artemi Panarin to. And he hasn't had a long history of injury. So that's one thing that's helped. Filk, the real thing is, are the Rangers just going for regular season success or the playoffs? Because Panarin has been, he's gotten the points. And 2 years ago, he was an MVP candidate, in my opinion. Just other guys happen to be better in that season. And also, let me just say this before I continue. I regard Artemi Panarin as the greatest free agent signing anywhere, ever in NHL history. Because you got a guy in his prime, and it hasn't happened in many other places. I'm trying to think of other guys you can compare that to. Obviously, Adam Graves is one of the greatest free agent signings in New York Rangers history. But this is a guy, though, that take, for instance, like the game against Calgary last year. He scores the first goal of the game and then was on a milk carton. And the Rangers end up with a pathetic amount of shots again in another game. And then they end up losing what is a critical game when they were still trying to make the playoffs at that time. The problem I have with Artemi Panarin is he's a great player. I just don't know whether or not he's still that superstar player. And is he that elite level player? I mean, obviously, yes, he could get points. But is he that guy that's ever going to impose his will? And if he's not going to do that, the Rangers need to look at moving on. Yeah, you write the chapter and then that's it. This team is trying to get tougher. And you're not doing it with Panarin, and you're certainly not doing that with Mika Zibanejad. Sorry, Mika, but you showed your mental toughness. So it's just, when you look at what Panarin is, and in my opinion, he could have been a two-time MVP. He just lost to guys that did better jobs. But it's just, Phil, I'm having trouble trying to justify another superstar level contract. If he wants to come back with a John Tavares contract, or maybe even making around half of what he's making, then I'll listen. But if not, his cap space is still worth something next season, and his maybe he's got trade value at the trade deadline.
I mean, this is another thing for me. I mean, there are better options in that 2026 free agency class as of right now. And let's make sure there's a big asterisk there, and that we talk about this, because those guys could all be gone by the time that by the time free agency hits. I mean, Connor McDavid, I can only imagine Edmonton is doing everything that they can to give that man a blank check right now. Same with Vegas and Jack Eichel. I'd imagine now with Alex Pietrangelo and his possibly career-ending injury, putting him on LTIR, I'd imagine it'll probably be the room that they need to keep Eichel. And, after the signing of Mitch Marner, the sign and trade, Kirill Kaprizov is another player. But do the Rangers want to go that route again, building around another skilled, smaller, albeit very talented winger? I mean, I think if anything we've seen, and I've said this in the past, we've gone over this many, many times, you win with center depth in today's NHL. And I think their focus should be on one of McDavid or Eichel. I mean, but I get it. Things happen, and sometimes those guys don't make it. So, but I don't think that they'll necessarily have to make that decision on Artemi Panarin by the time that free agency comes around. Or in terms of what I'm trying to say is, McDavid and Eichel, I think those guys, you're either going to know that they're going to be re-signed, or you're going to know that they're going to hit free agency, and you're going to go after one of those guys. So I think Artemi Panarin could be a fallback option for them. But I do think that he should not be priority number one when it comes to the free agency with the Rangers. I think their all season should be looking at one of McDavid or Eichel, and then if not, maybe you try making moves to bring in other young talents to come and build around. So that's just the way I look at it.
Right. Filk, I hate saying it like this, and I'm actually going to highlight James's comment right here, where he says Panarin's like a Ferrari for a team that lives in a condominium apartment complex. It's like I would actually change around to they're like a Ferrari bought by a middle-aged man in middle-aged crisis.
James is basically just trying to depict the meme with the Ferrari under that trailer park looking home under the garage. Yeah.
Right. And look, here's the thing. In the 6 years the Rangers have been here, they've either had great success with Panarin or no success with Panarin. And I'll quote the old I'll quote the old Ralph Kiner line, we finished in last with you, we can finish in last without you. But like is this a guy that's really going to be able to help the team win a cup? I'm not saying whether or not he's a good player, because I think who knows, maybe they make the playoffs with him. Maybe he finally just has the chutzpah, if you will, into his game. Maybe he imposes his will, as I've said before. Like, you think about that OT winner against Carolina that he had. He drove to the net, deflected the pass/shot from Trocheck, and it squeaked through Kochekov, and the Rangers took a 3-0 series lead. The problem that I had after him was basically he was on a milk carton the rest of the series. And he did have, I believe, 2 assists in game 6, which ended up leading to the winner. One of those assists, it was off a long rebound that Trocheck was able to deposit. And the other one, I think it was Fox shot that the Kreider deflected. So he got a second assist. But the thing about it is, Filk, I'm not getting the sense of Marc Messier in 1997 out of this. Not getting the sense of you can't let him leave. And then you see Messier left, and it took the Rangers 9 years to recover from.
Well, I think 97 Messier is happening all over again. I mean, look at it. You have Panarin, who's been here for a while, who's the established star here, and he's aging, and he's going to want a contract that the team might not want to give him. Maybe he wants I'm going to get to this whole McDavid thing in a second, because I can't believe I'm seeing this right now, because it's one of the most ludicrous things I've ever seen in this chat. I'm sorry, but it's so wrong. It's statistically and objectively wrong. But to get back to what we're doing here, this is 97 Messier all over again, because the team has 2 other targets now that are young elite players that are 2 of the top 10 best players in the league for sure. McDavid's number 1 by far, and Eichel's somewhere in your top 10 probably. I mean, for me, guy put up 90 points, and he was a Selke. I believe he was a Selke finalist, or just outside of it this year. But for me, like, you look at those 2 situations, and they're mirror images. It's like I take a look at the Office meme where they ask Pam Beasley to look at the corporate wants you to take a look at the 2 pictures and see if there are any differences. And she goes, "It's the same picture." Like it literally is, because that's what's going on here. And you want to get those guys. Yeah, they wanted Sakic, and they absolutely were right for going after Sakic, because Messier was the aging guy. And it sucked that it worked out the way that it did, because Messier didn't deserve to leave New York like that. But the fact that he was aging, he was going to be 37 in January of 98. And Sakic was 27, 28 years old at the time. And he was considered arguably the best player in the world with Mario Lemieux's retirement. You could have said him, Yager, or Lindros. I mean, they were the 3 best players in the league. But it's just you have to go after the younger, better option at this point. And I don't think there will be the same amount of backlash if the Rangers don't re-sign Panarin because of the fact that he didn't win and he wasn't beloved as Messier was, because Messier brought them to the promised land. Panarin has kind of disappeared as the playoffs have gone on in every postseason that they played in. So it's, for me, just go get the younger guys if they're available. You have to do everything you can. I don't care what contract you give Connor McDavid. If you give him $22 million a year to come play here, and I know that number sounds insane because it is, I don't care. Do it. You bring him in. He's the best player of a generation. He can take guys like Pat Maroon and turn them into top 6 forwards. Like, do people not remember what he did for Maroon?
I'll say this, Filk. I think it's close to the Jonathan Huberdeau situation, where you got a guy that he produces, but in the playoffs doesn't. So then what does that leave you with? And then you go for a guy, in Florida's case, they go for a guy like Makachuk. They identified him, and that franchise has been completely different since the day he walked through that door. And it's a tough decision that you have to make, because you do have to look at it. Panarin did score 120 points 2 years ago. He scored 89 last season. And he is an incredibly valuable player. But the thing is, what are those points getting you in the end? They didn't get you in the playoffs last year. Having an 89 point score should have been a lot closer and a lot better of a team than what they were. And we saw what the month of December was. And we also saw how pathetic that team was down the stretch. I want players that are up here. And you know what? They're tough up in their head. I don't see that with Artemi Panarin. I see him as a front runner. I see him when everything's good, go right ahead. Everything's fantastic. Same thing with Mika Zibanejad. When the chips are down, I want to see a guy that's going to be trying his best on the ice for his team. And I'm not seeing that. And last year kind of proved it. Time to get rid of the old guard. Time to gut it. It's over. So they're going to have to do it. But let's get to that other thing you're talking about.
Let's play, before we go real quick, let's play a little game here. I'm going to name I'm going to take 2 players. I'm going to give you their playoff stat lines. And I want you to tell me who these 2 players are.
Okay.
They have both the amount of games played is nearly identical, funny enough. But player A has played 95 games in the playoffs. 55 goals, 125 points, has a Stanley Cup. Player B has played 96 games, 44 goals, 150 points, no Stanley Cups. Who is player A and who is player B?
All right, can I get a parameter? Are they active right now?
They're both active players.
Okay, so the first one was 55 goals.
55 goals, 125 points in 95 games, has a Stanley Cup.
95 games, and he's got 1 Stanley Cup.
1 Stanley Cup. Player B is 44 goals and 150 points in 96 games.
No Stanley Cup.
No Stanley Cup.
I'm tempted to say that, no, because David, both of them, you know what? Okay, you know what? I think you might be right. One of them is Nate McKinnon. He's the guy with 44 goals, right?
Nope.
Okay. I was gonna go 55 was Ovechkin. No, it was Ovechkin, but that's not right. Hold on. Wait a minute. Chris Kreider is one of them.
No.
Okay. Sorry. Wait. I forgot. I misread the points. I'm thinking about the goals. Okay, 55 goals. I think Nico's right on this one. One of them's got to be McDavid, right?
Which one do you think he is?
The one without the Stanley Cup, obviously.
Okay, so you are correct. Player B is Connor McDavid with 44 goals and 150 points in only 96 games. Who is player
55 goals, and it can't actually, and 1 Stanley Cup.
Yes.
Okay, so it's still not McKinnon. And it can't be Barkov. It can't be anybody else.
It's not Barkov.
And it's not Eichel because he didn't play that many playoff games in his career, guys. He only played 2 seasons in the playoffs. I'm going to go Alex Ovechkin. No.
Player A is Nathan McKinnon.
Player A is Nathan McKinnon. Okay.
Player A is Nathan McKinnon. Now,
I think he had enough games.
In one more game played, Connor McDavid has 25 more points. Connor McDavid also has 3 postseasons of 30 or more points, including becoming the 3rd player in NHL history to register a 40-point postseason.
Mm-hmm.
How is Connor McDavid a guy that doesn't step his game up come playoff time?
Well, because he does. That's the answer.
That's what I want to know with the chat. Seeing some of the lines I just saw are just absolutely insane. Hockey is a team sport.
Yeah, no.
Win with a good team. Mario Lemieux did not win until Paul Coffey and Jaromir Jagr and all of those guys came along. Marc Recchi. He had all those guys. Wayne Gretzky did not win until they found a way to beat the Islanders. Messier had come along. Coffey had come along. Fuhr, Tikkanen, all these guys. You win because of a team. It's not just because of one player. And that's the point. You should want guys like that are willing to do anything to attack the middle. Connor McDavid is the antithesis of every skilled player that has ever played the game. He's that guy that's all steel that goes to the net.
Connor McDavid is like that Greg Jennings guy from YouTube 10 years ago. That was always, I'll put the team on my back. But I mean, no, nobody should be saying Connor McDavid doesn't step up, nor Leon Draisaitl. Those guys not having a Stanley Cup has nothing to do with them. It has to do with their GM's poor team construction.
18 players that are on the ice any given night.
Yeah, and they never had the goaltender. And that's one of the spots where you say you could win with star power, but a mediocre goaltender. Well, Stuart Skinner's been very good at times the last 2 playoff runs. So you can't even say that. But this is also where
Stuart Skinner has not been competent enough. He has not been a competent. If they had a competent goaltender, they win. You give them Jordan Binnington, they probably won a couple already.
If you gave them Aiden Hill, they would win.
They would have won.
They would have won. The thing about Stuart Skinner is he lets in one bad goal and then that's it. Actually, I really thought Edmonton was going to win the Stanley Cup last year, but that's a different story at the moment right now because we're going to get into a whole different topic right there. But the thing about Panarin is, Filk, if this is a question the Rangers have to ask themselves because now they signed Igor Shesterkin to an $11.5 million contract. You could sign Panarin, and when you sign Panarin, you can't ask the question, what's Panarin going to be next year and sign him to a 4-year deal? You have to ask what's Panarin going to be in year 3 because that's a lot sooner than year 8 of Igor. And don't let your heart get in the way on this one. Oh, look at what he did for us. No, you got to use your head on this one. And the Rangers are basically bereft of a lot in their system. Get another player back. Maybe if Brock Nelson could fetch Callum Ritchie and a first-round draft pick, what could Artemi Panarin get? Because he would probably be the biggest name to be moved.
This debate came up on HF boards, and it was one of the most ridiculous threads I've ever seen. I think it was the most that I have ever seen one guy get crapped on an internet forum because he argued that Brock Nelson would get more of a return. Brock Nelson's return would be more than Artemi Panarin's at this upcoming year's deadline if the Rangers decided to deal Panarin at the deadline. And everybody in that forum just crapped all over this one guy. And it got to a point where the guy he kept stonewalling questions that people were throwing at him. So he knew he was wrong. And I honestly, the best thing to do for the Rangers, tank this year and get Gavin McKenna.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Then the Rangers are going to put him on the 8th line and say, earn your time.
You can't do that. That's a player.
You can't do that, but they just did it with a 1st and a 2nd overall pick, Filk. This is a
Alexi
team,
Lafreniere is not a generational, can't miss, blue chip talent. He wasn't
right?
that.
But he wasn't that. But he's still better than throw him on the third line and make him
understand,
earn his ice time.
But McKenna. So we're talking about prospects and fanfare since the turn of the century, since 2000. You're gonna put at the top of that list. You're gonna put McDavid and Crosby, and then you're gonna throw Ovechkin there, and then you're going to throw maybe someone like Jason Spezza had a lot of fanfare. There was a lot of people that thought that he was going to go and be like one of the next best players of a generation. I mean, someone like Nathan McKinnon, there was a lot of fanfare around him. Gavin McKenna is up in that type of level. Like, people are looking at him like he's going to be one of the next great generation, like Bedard. Like there's a similar level of fanfare behind that. And if you do that, then your entire front office needs to be facelifted.
Yeah. And again, Phil, the other thing is just what is the plan for this team? Because Jeff Gorton was just about establishing, getting as much talent and collecting it. But guys got to have purposes. Guys got to know their roles. When you got the Bennett line on the ice, you knew what their role was. You weren't sitting there guessing, going, "Hey, wait, could they do this?" You need shutdown. You need a checking line. You need a good, solid fourth line. It can't just be, we got so much talent, we're going to roll this line out and this line out and this line out. They got to know what their purpose is. And look, they got Mike Sullivan now. They're not tanking. So the next thing is, what do you do with Artemi Panarin? And look, guys, this is a conversation. You guys think I'm wrong? Go ahead, throw it down in the comments below, because it wouldn't be the first time, but it's just, as far as this era goes, I think the Rangers need to move on from him, because they got what they got out of him. They might get a good season out of him because he knows he's going to play for his next paycheck. But if he turns in a 65-point season, far below the 89 last year, that's bad for him. That's bad for the New York Rangers. And let's say he plays well and the Rangers don't trade him. He hits the open market next year and moves on. That's the roll of the dice you got to go with too. Because like Mitch Marner, he's got all the power. He's got the full no move clause. Phil, a quick topic of conversation before we move on to bar talk and go on to something. Actually, two of them we got. But the New York Rangers also do not have a captain. Okay, let me get your opinion. Who should be the captain? Because I know what everybody on the internet says, and it makes me shake my head.
People are looking at JT Miller. I know some look at Vincent Trocheck. Vince Mercogliano wrote a piece and suggested Adam Fox because you want a captain that's going to be there for the long haul. I think, if anything, JT Miller is probably the guy that I would want leading the charge, but I just don't think I'm ready to name a captain for. I just don't. I want to see what happens with this season before I'm naming anybody. Why am I going to be in a rush to name a captain? I don't see anybody that just stands out and says, "Oh, I need them to be a captain." I don't see it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have questions still on JT Miller. I understand. I might look at JT Miller in his first stint as the New York Rangers. I don't particularly believe he's the best qualified captain right now for this team. I'm not sure if Vincent Trocheck is going to be the guy, because I'm not sure how long Vincent Trocheck is going to be here. Is Adam Fox another Brian Leach? Does he thrive with the C on him, or does it kind of hinder him a little bit? Those are questions I have to ask, which makes you wonder exactly who's going to step up and be the captain of this team. And the problem has been, and I was vocal when we first were doing the show, Filk. I just said, just name a damn captain. Now I know why they didn't name a captain, because there were no captains. And don't give me Trouba. Trouba wasn't a captain.
Trouba sucked.
Truba, and don't get me about him having a broken ankle and playing.
Goalies cannot be captains anymore. That was changed years ago with Luongo.
And let me be clear about this one. You need him to have a clear head and not do some of his antics. Well, think of the Brady Tkachuk jab at him last year. There's been too many times Igor has run out of the net to go run after guys. You got to be closer to Henrik Lundqvist, who more often than not skated away and let his teammates handle it. It is ludicrous for him to go after guys because he could have gotten seriously injured going after Brady Tkachuk last year. And we've all seen it too often. So as far as the Rangers go, there isn't a captain here.
This might be the only guy that I would even consider. And he's not ready for it yet.
And he's not. He's definitely not. And I can't really think of anybody else. I wouldn't sign a free agent and then anoint him. So Gavrikov's out of that situation too. Maybe if he feels like it, I don't know if he decides to grab the bull by the horns. You can only hope Alexei Lafreniere is another one of those guys. Somebody's got to earn it. I'll agree with you on that one, James. Somebody's got to earn it. Maybe Alexei Lafreniere grabs it this year.
Yeah, that was Nico.
Yeah, sorry, Nico. But it's so hard to look at this and go, that's the next captain. Nope. No, they don't have that guy. And while I was on the topic of Tkachuks, let's stay with Matthew Tkachuk, who we talked about extensively last week. But he had surgery, and he's expected to miss 3 to 5 months this season. That's as of right now. So that would put him back somewhere around January, maybe even February, if it's the full 5 months. Filk, is this basically just another way Florida gets to use LTIR money and keep their players?
I don't know. I really don't think so. They were able to kind of get everybody in under the cap. So I really don't think this is the case. And we know that Tkachuk was dealing with an injury going back to the Four Nations.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is the one case where it's legitimate. Like Vegas and Tampa, they've all done some screwy things. This I don't think is as screwy.
Phil, I gotta tell you, I was so delighted seeing Tampa fans complain about this. Like, we don't even know what's real and what's not. Gee, I wonder what team started this fiasco.
Yeah,
because certainly wasn't the Panthers, but it was that other Floridian team. But I mean, this is something that the timing of this. Why did he get the surgery like a month ago? But whatever, you could argue about that at a different time. I guarantee he's back by January because he wants to be playing in the Olympics next year.
Yeah, and that's probably going to be the case. I mean, he'll be back by the Olympics, but there's a legitimate injury here. I mean, the guy missed the Four Nations final.
Yeah,
like, I mean, what do we? I mean, he wanted to be in that game. Both him and his brother wanted to be in that game, and they weren't. And I think if they were, I think the U.S. wins that game. So I definitely think that there is something legitimate here. Yeah, you could complain about the timing and when he chose to get the surgery or not. But you also sometimes you got to go through like 2 or 3 opinions before you go and get that surgery.
That is true too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just at that point, it's like it's sometimes you just don't want to see it. Like even if one of us had like an injury and we weren't even going to be able to play hockey, you think we're just going to take the first opinion of a doctor that tells us, oh, you need that surgery? No, you're going to go to 2 to 3 doctors, maybe 2 to 3 others. And
I think the surgeon would even recommend that to you.
Yeah. I mean, they'll tell you, just sometimes, if you're not happy with what I'm telling you, go see what another doctor says. And that's I think that's what Matthew Tkachuk did. But I feel like this is the one situation where I know that there's enough evidence that shows that there is an injury that he's been dealing with. Clearly wasn't the same in the playoffs, and he played through it in the playoffs as well. And you know what? Fine. This is the one time where I'm going to say, okay, you know what? Yes, it does benefit them. Okay. Then let them do the same things that everybody else under this CBA has gotten away with. It's the last year to do it, because once the new one kicks in, salary cap in the playoffs, you're not getting away with it anymore.
Right. And again, that's something that will benefit the NHL in the long run. This all has to stop. The whole no salary cap in the playoffs. But here we go. But you're going to be left with these questions. And Phil, to be honest with you, I look forward to them all going away. I'm done with all this stuff. And look, Matt Tkachuk, get healthy as fast as you can. Get back on the ice. The NHL needs you, and Team USA is going to need you in a few months. Who was the last non-American captain for the Rangers? Phil, you know about that one.
Jaromir Jagr.
Jaromir Jagr.
Yep.
And even before that, it was then Messier and
non-American. And now, so it was Jagr, then Messier, and then Leach was American, then Messier, and then the last captain before him was Kelly Kisio.
Correct. Yes. So, I mean, yeah, I don't think he has to be American either. I don't think that's you never know with Chris Drury and the way he's been. So we'll just
something tells me he would like it to be a North American. But
yeah, I mean, he was an American.
He was an American captain for the Rangers themselves. He was a captain before Ryan Callahan. Correct.
And he was and probably wanted to be from Boston, Boston U preferably. But you know what? Is what it is. We'll see what's going to become of it. Everybody, let's go have some fun. Let's do some NHL Bar Talk.
Shot. This is the easiest I've ever to answer.
I'm gonna say beer. I can't even begin to describe.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around on this one. I've got to update that. I've been saying that for a while. But everybody, welcome back to Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, where we gauge our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. So confident that you're buying around, so still have a beer. Oh, God, I need a shot. Throw your comments down. Throw your opinions, by the way, down in the comments below. And, of course, while I'm at it, I might as well plug the bar that I work at. Since it is Bar Talk, why don't you go to the bar, go to Boss Croakers for wing night. They're 40 cent wings, $2 tacos, $4 Millers, and Yinglings. And that's either chicken or beef on the tacos. Come on. It's always a good time going on down. I'll be working tomorrow night for Park After Dark and regretting every decision I've ever made leading up to that. But Filk, let's start again with the New York Rangers. Don't worry, Islander fans. We got you coming next with a good one. But you look at the New York Rangers, their defensemen, Adam Fox, Vladislav Gavrikov, Braden Schneider, Will Borgen, Scott Morrow, Vakanainen, I forgot what his first name was for a second, and Carson Soucy, everyone's favorite slow-moving cone. Those are the Rangers' 7 options at defense right now. Filk, I got to ask you, it's a mistake for the Rangers to play Adam Fox and Vladislav Gavrikov together.
Shot. You don't bring in Vladislav Gavrikov and pay him $7 million to not play with Adam Fox. I get why you're thinking that, but I want if I'm going to have that pairing out there for 25 minutes a game, okay, then I'm gonna take that gamble that for the other 35 minutes of the game I can piecework decent defensive play out of the other 4 defensemen. But I'm not splitting those 2 of them up. Who is a better option to play with Fox? Answer me that.
Or who's a better option to play with Gavrikov? See, that's the thing.
Who are you putting over Gavrikov on that top pairing, on that left side? Tell me right now.
I can't answer that definitively yet.
Exactly. And that's why Gavrikov will play there.
But also, Filk, this is the reason why I'm going to say beer on this, because I have trouble looking at the rest of that defense core and going, yikes, those next 4 names don't look very good. And if you want to stack the top line, you might have to play them 30 minutes a night and maybe even 35 minutes.
Are you playing Braden Schneider on his off pair on the top pairing with Adam Fox and then putting Will Borgen and Vladislav Gavrikov as your second pairing?
No. I mean, their left D is very weak. That's part of the problem.
Both of their defense is weak in general.
Yeah.
They don't have any yet. That's the problem. They don't have anyone that looks like a legitimate top 4 option outside of those two.
It's one of those things that when you look at this team and where people start saying confidently they're a playoff team. Look, Mike Sullivan's got a lot out of
it right here. One top pairing and then a bunch. It's just a sorted bag of magic beans. That's it.
Which is bad for the New York Rangers, Phil, because they're going to have no idea what Braden Schneider is. They still don't. You don't know what Braden Schneider is. Was he hurt last year? Does he bounce back? Can he play the left side? Which side does he play on? We don't know the answers to any of these questions. If you gave me at least one more competent top 4 defenseman, I could say, all right, you know what? Maybe put somebody else other than Gavrikov on that top pairing with Fox, and then let Gavrikov anchor that second pairing. Yeah. And again, you look at that lineup, that defensive lineup. Oh boy, is the only way to even look at it.
Woof.
And I'll even say they've improved since trading away Keandre Miller.
But where's your scoring coming from then? You deal off Panarin, where's your scoring coming from?
Well, that's also the other problem.
You don't know if Zibanejad's bouncing back. You don't know if Miller's bouncing back. You don't know if Lafreniere or Cooley are breaking through. Like what?
Can I be as cynical as possible on this? Let me just say this for the record about Mika Zibanejad.
I don't think anyone thinks they're a playoff
team. You get the people around on the internet that think this is a playoff team. But let me just say this. If Mika Zibanejad was demoralized by Barclay Goodrow getting waived and traded, how the hell do you think he feels about his best friend? So, prove me wrong, Mika. Prove me wrong. That's the only answer on that one. So, let's move on to a team that's at least starting to look like they're on the upswing. Let's go to the New York Islanders and Anders Lee, who has 289 goals. He has 21 goals behind third place Dennis Potvin for the New York Islanders. That's in 841 games of his career. The entire 841 games he has played in Nassau County and in Brooklyn. So, Filk, Anders Lee will retire as a career New York Islander.
Beer. I mean, I think it's possible that he ends up leaving, maybe plays somewhere else, but it's also very possible that he signs a nice deal to stay in New York, maybe makes like $3.5-4 million on his next deal. I mean, he had a nice year this past year. 29 goals and 55 points, 54 points rather, are his best numbers since 2018, since his 40-goal year, his 40-goal, 60-point year. So, I mean,
he also did that with peak John Tavares, by the way.
Yeah, in 2018. That was, yeah. But, I mean, he has the second best year of his career at, 34 years old? He's going to be, I think, 35 himself Oh, no, he just turned 35 in July. So he's 35. He's not the greatest skater. I mean, it depends on what he does this year. Like, if he could still give you 25 goals and like 45 to 50 points, there's probably room for the team to negotiate a deal for him. And I know that he loves being here. Like, Anthony has spoken with him before, at the Can Jam event. Others, have spoken with him in interviews, and he is just he loves being here. He loves the island. He loves living here. His family's here. I mean, sometimes guys just don't want to uproot their family. Look at Henrik Lundqvist. There was a deal for him at the 2018 deadline where the Rangers could have traded him to the Dallas Stars, and Lundqvist refused because he did not want to uproot his family. So, I mean, when you're that entrenched in a community and, living, and not only that, but you got to remember, when you get traded and you move, or like even just moving for us, it's like you got to find a whole new routine. You got to find a new job. You got to find, a new way of life. And this Long Island is a great place to live. Yes. Minus the taxes, because the taxes are not just bad in Nassau. They're bad in Suffolk too. You might get some more land in Suffolk, but they're still bad. It's for these players, they have to change everything, not just where they live, what house they live in. It's the kids, the school district they're going to, their pregame and daily routines heading up to game time for home games. Their wives. Look at the wives and meeting new people and meeting new friends and finding things for them to do, and it's not just about the player, it's about the family too. And there's a lot of things that change when these things happen. So Anders Lee might not want to leave, and he may take a John Tavares type deal with Toronto that he took this offseason to stay with the Islanders, because I think he values it here, and I think they value him as a captain.
Yeah, I wish we had Anthony here to echo this, but I actually firmly believe he's taking a team-friendly deal. It's going to be that simple for him. This guy might be from Minnesota, and everybody always says this. No, he's from Minnesota. He's from Minnesota. I think he's a Long Islander now. Just the way it is. And there's a lot more guys that have been New York Islanders and stayed Islanders long after they stopped playing for the team.
Yeah.
There's a ton of them that are around here, and not just guys from the 80s. There's plenty of guys from the 90s and even the 2000s. It's a great place to live. And I can't say enough about it. I mean, I'm actually gonna go round on this one. I think he's gonna retire.
I'm gonna say round.
Yeah,
I didn't say it before, but I'm gonna say round.
I realized that after I said it, I'm like, all right, let's just ask about that. But let's also talk about another guy that he's entering his 20th season in the NHL and the last year of his deal. Evgeny Malkin, Filk, is going to be entering the final year of his 4-year deal that he signed with Ron Hextall way back when. His 20th year with the Penguins. This will be Evgeny Malkin's final season and only playing with the Pittsburgh Penguins.
I'm going to say round. I do believe that Malkin will stay there. I don't think he wants to go somewhere else. I think that once he leaves, I think he might go back to Magnitogorsk and play for Metallurg to end his career there. But I think that he's not playing for another team other than Pittsburgh. I think he's beloved in Pittsburgh. I think he loves it there as well. I think he's another player that, as much as I've disliked him over the years, just because because of his on-ice play, and then just the fact that he's absolutely torched the Rangers for the vast majority of his career. I think he deserves to be a guy that retires playing all of his games with that Penguins team.
Yeah, this is something we always debate about, and a matter of fact, it's always in the Sidney Crosby debate. They're like, "Oh, well, they should move him to Colorado or something like that." Why? You know what? When you're a great player and there's a legacy to being a one-team player, and a lot of guys wanted to be that. You look at the greats; not many of them are able to do it. Gretzky couldn't. Howe did it and didn't do it. Bobby Orr didn't do it. Mario Lemieux did. Marc Messier didn't do it. Marc Messier was even moved on from his second team, as we all know. And when you get to be Mario Lemieux, Steve Yzerman, Joe Sakic, guys that have been on one franchise your entire career, it just, there's a different flavor to it. And I think that's what they're going to be doing. And this guy has earned the right to do it. He won the Conn Smythe, the first Russian to ever win the Conn Smythe. Don't ever forget that. It was first him, not Ovechkin. And he was unbelievable in that 2009 run. Then you have how great he was when he was able to really ratchet it up in 15, 16, and 16 and 17 for those two back-to-back Stanley Cups. I thought he was going to get moved to 2015, but it seems like he's just a guy that's Pittsburgh or bust the entire time. I think at one point I heard Detroit would intrigue him, but not this current model. And I think he's a Penguin for life, and he should be, Filk. He should be. So
I don't know if Detroit would have ever intrigued him at that point. I think the only time that Detroit might have ever intrigued him was earlier on in his career, and that wasn't happening. They weren't letting him go back then. So
yeah,
I mean, really, I just don't see Malkin going anywhere else. I don't. And I think it might be tough for Crosby, because I think if Crosby was going to accept something, I think now would have been the time for Crosby.
Really quick, even though we can have a whole discussion about it. You know what, Filk? You know what? No, never mind. Maybe I can make it into a blind ranking. I'll try to do it as fast as possible in there. But let's get on and let's get to the rest of these. Lane Hudson finished with 66 points, tied for sixth among NHL defensemen. That was the most among rookies last season. But Lane Hudson is already a top 10 defenseman in the NHL. Filk, I go to you.
Shot. No. Just no. And I don't see it. I can name probably 10 defensemen that are. I don't know if I put Hudson in my top 15 or 20 at this point. I just don't think he's that good defensively. For me, it's I don't see it. I don't. I don't like the defensive play. I think he gets overpowered because of the lack of size. So you're going to tell me that you're going to put him ahead of either Makar, Werenski, Hughes, Dahlin, Bouchard, Hedman, Morrissey, Fox, Sanderson. You're going to put him ahead of maybe Shea Theodore, Roman Yossi.
There's a name you haven't mentioned yet.
John Carlson, Mikhail Sergachev, Mort Seider. I mean,
still a name you haven't mentioned yet, and I'm waiting for you to put him in.
Devon Taves.
That's a tall order. You didn't mention Jacob Slavin yet.
I'm not putting him ahead of Jacob Slavin. I don't care how many more points that he scores than Jacob Slavin.
Yeah.
If I want somebody out there for 30 minutes of a game that I know is going to keep the puck out of the net and is going to be able to keep my team ahead on the scoreboard, I'm taking Slavin over Hudson, and I'm not thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's changing anytime soon. And I think Lane Hudson will get better defensively. I just don't see. He's not a top 15 for me. He's just not. Maybe top 20, but not a top 15 guy for me.
Filk also, just to go on top of that, he made that incredible run scoring wise. Do you know what every one of the top 10 scoring defensemen have in common, with the exception of Jake Sanderson and Lane Hudson? They're all plus players.
Yeah, I was just going to say they're all plus players. Yeah.
And
all of them.
The closest you get to a guy that's not a plus is Quinn Hughes, that's a +2. Everybody else is double digits plus.
Hudson scored 66 points and was still a minus player.
Yeah, that's saying he's thriving on the power play. And that's also saying that because he had 26 power play points. So, yeah, sure, he had the 40 even strength points, but it just means, you kind of said it best. If you want somebody that's going to shut down the opposition, you go with Jacob Slavin. And more specifically, if you have Connor McDavid on the ice, do you want Lane Hudson or do you want Jacob Slavin?
Because if you say Slavin at that point.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're saying Lane Hudson, you might need one of those lobotomies that they gave people back in Shutter Island. Like, it's just no, absolutely not. He's not there yet. Now, a top 10 defenseman, so I'm going to go shot 2 on this. Top 10 defenseman, not there yet. We'll figure that one out. Let's see how he plays in his second year. Because also, let me throw out another name for a guy that I thought had a great rookie season. Outstanding. And I thought he was going to ascend and be the next great defenseman. I was wrong. Shane Gostisbehere is the guy that I thought. His first year with Philly, he was incredible. And he really changed around a lot. And I'm going, oh my goodness. Nope, hasn't materialized.
I like this post here from David. I like this comment. Because he's a guy that, a lot of these YouTube content creators are all looking at flashy skating and crossovers and mohawks and all these skating drills. And Hudson seems like a byproduct. Like, Hudson reminds me sometimes the way he skates of how when those people used to make fun of PK Subban's videos, where he would do the mohawks and the dashes and the crossovers and stuff like that. Like, that's what Lane Hudson reminds me of. He plays kind of like that. And don't get me wrong, he's very good offensively. He's a great offensive talent. But it's just not there defensively. And I agree. I think it's going to take a few years for him to round into that level of player. I mean, if I'm Montreal, I'm getting Larry Robinson to work with this guy.
Yeah.
And Larry Robinson's obviously got tons of connections to Montreal. It's one of probably the greatest, probably the second greatest defenseman in their history behind Doug Harvey. So for me, go get a guy like that to work with him and turn him into that guy, because he's never going to be a big guy. But if he can learn body position and how to gain that on bigger players, he can separate those bigger players from the puck and become a more complete defenseman. One-on-one, gap control, how to play those things. Those are all significant factors of being a defenseman. And I say that from experience. It takes a fucking long time to, pardon my F-bomb there, but it takes a long time to learn those things. And they're not easy.
No, and they're not easy. It's the same way as a forward, where you have to learn how to, especially if you don't have the puck, how to find some open space for yourself. And one guy that also needed to learn that lesson too, Filk, is the guy that they just acquired in Noah Dobson. Noah Dobson is another guy you're going, well, he's got to learn that lesson. Now he's got to do it on the fly in Montreal, making $9.5 million. So it's can Hudson build on this? Absolutely. Everyone's in agreement.
Yeah, where's the shutdown guy there? That's
a big problem, Phil.
That's a big problem. If they had a guy like a Gavrikov,
yes,
and that could come in and help him out and help learn those things. Like, Devon Toews was the best thing to ever happen to Cale Makar.
Yep.
He cleans up a lot of Cale Makar's defensive messes. Not that Cale Makar is Erik Karlsson level bad defensively, but he's no Jacob Slavin in his own end, to tell you that. I mean, but where's the defensive shutdown guy on Montreal? They've got great skaters. great mobility. We lost Marc there for a second, but he'll probably be right back. But just to kind of go on with this, and yeah, there he is. So to kind of go on with this, like, they have great mobility, they have great puck handlers, but where are their defensive guys? Like, are you going to play him with Noah Dobson, who has his own defensive issues in his own end? I mean, Islander fans will tell you all about his defensive issues. But for me, you need someone to come along and kind of balance the yin to the yang there. Like, you need that Boom to that Leach.
Yep.
To come along and help.
Sweeney to that Sweeney to the Bork.
Or Wesley to Bork. One of those two.
Steve Smith.
Paul Coffey.
Chelios.
And Steve Smith and Chris Chelios in Chicago. Yeah, that's another one. It's you need those guys to come along and help kind of round those guys out. So yes, I do think that it's going to take a bit for him, and I don't think that he's got enough help in that regard. Mike Matheson is the closest thing they have to that. And Matheson, I think, has become a little underrated because I think his defensive game has improved a little bit. But where is that legitimate shutdown defender? It's not there.
And you're going to need guys that are going to focus on defense because I'll tell you what, Filk, they're front runner for Rookie of the Year / hot new commodity in Ivan Demidov. That guy's got controller disconnect written all over his back checking. So we'll see about that. And by the way, James, I can answer this one right now. The Rangers' last consistent shutdown defenseman, his name was Ryan McDonough.
Yeah, it was McDonough. McDonough was after Marc Stahl, kind of like after the eye injury and then the concussion and everything, McDonough was probably a top 10 defenseman in the league for a while there. So.
He was always like 5 or 4, even in his best seasons, and you're waiting for him to make that jump into the top 3, and he just couldn't do it. Also, because at that time, I believe you still had Erik Karlsson that was at his peak. Shea Weber was another guy. Yeah, Girardi was a guy that was always a shutdown guy too.
But he was a shot blocker. He wasn't somebody that he wasn't like a real top end defenseman. McDonough was the guy on that pairing that was shutting down everybody. McDonough was the guy that Ovechkin was dealing with a lot.
Yeah, and although Girardi did turn in a great 2011-2012 season, but it was really McDonough as the guy that was the one doing it, especially after the Marc Stahl injury.
You couldn't be more right about this. Tell you right now, if they had Ryan McDonough instead of Jacob Trouba, oh man,
that would have been a lot different. That would have been a lot different. All right, let's move on, Filk. We'll go to the Central Division. Let's go to the Nashville Predators because if you look at the bottom of the NHL standings, San Jose 52 points last season, Chicago 61, Nashville at 68, and Philadelphia, Seattle, and Boston all had 76. The Nashville Predators will have the worst record in the NHL this year.
I don't know. I mean, I don't like their defense. I will tell you that right now. Losing Ryan McDonough and then losing Dante Fabro has done nothing to help them. When they traded Ryan McDonough back to Tampa Bay, I was like, oh, this is not going to be good for their defense. I did not foresee the impact that they would have by losing him that much. And Roman Josi had a major, major down year. Played only 53 games and had 38 points. And it was his worst season probably since his second year in the league in 2013. So I think Roman Josi is going to bounce back. I think a lot of the guys on Nashville are going to bounce back. I don't think Steven Stamkos will have a year that bad again. I look at this roster. I mean, Stamkos only 53 points. I think he'll bounce back. I think Jonathan Marchessault will bounce back. I think Philip Forsberg will bounce back. Brady Shea It was his first year in a new system. He was a minus 24. I don't think Brady Shea's great defensively, but I think he's better than a minus 24 player. I really do. Luke Evangelista is going to only get better because he's been a top prospect for a long time. Tommy Novak is no longer there. Nyquist is no longer there. Zach LaRue, I expect better things out of him this season. At an okay rookie year, 15 points, 62 games. I think it's going to get better. There's just a lot of things that happened. I mean, Marc Belgaizo is another one who I think is going to have a better year. A lot of people have talked about him being underrated. Alexander Carrier, I think, is going to have a better year. UC Saros, there are just too many guys that have had bad years in this team. I just think it was a lot of wrong place, wrong time. And another guy that I wanted in the 2021 draft, Fedor Svechkov.
Yep.
I think he's going to have a good year this year. And I don't think Roman Josi is overrated, James. I don't. I just think that it's just wrong place, wrong time. And I think there was something going on behind the scenes there too.
Yeah. So if this is a shot, you don't think they're going to have the worst? All right.
I'm going to think
let's go.
beer just because things could go wrong. But
All right.
I'm leaning more towards round, if anything, because I just think there's too much that went wrong. Like Murphy's Law, if Murphy's Law was a hockey team, it was the Nashville Predators last year.
All right. I'm gonna go beer. That's the best I could do with that because you outlined everything that went wrong for them last year, and a lot of things have to go right, Filk. That is not the division you want everything to have to go right in. Absolutely not the division.
You're right about that.
Like, my goodness.
Joe was saying the same thing here, and I agree with you both.
Right. Like, I mean, Winnipeg's going to drop off. You got to think Utah's gotten better. But no. And here's the problem with Buffalo. Buffalo, once they're mathematically eliminated, is the best team in hockey.
Yeah,
They're really mathematically eliminated.
That's true. They'll get it's not mathematically eliminated.
Yeah, they're like nearly mathematically eliminated.
Yeah. Once they're like just short of that, and you know that like they're not going to do anything, that's when the I don't care attitude shows up, and they're just like, okay, you know what? We're just going to go out and we don't care about what happens every night, and they play with no pressure.
Now, as far as like the rest of the teams go, I'm going to bring up the standings again. Like you look at the teams that are there last year, you got to assume Chicago is going to get a little bit better. Maybe they get to maybe high 60s. San Jose, I think San Jose is going to take a huge jump this year. I think San Jose could get another 18 points. Now, is that going to make them away from the bottom? Not really. They're still going to be in the lottery, I think. But, again, actually a team, I wouldn't be surprised as I'm staring at them right now going, I don't know how this team's going to be. I think the Seattle Kraken is the team that I'm thinking of that they could be the worst team in the league also. But the thing is,
they don't have a good roster. And I mean, they could also bounce back though. Like Brandon,
they could bounce back. Yeah.
You know, could Capo Caco and Matty Beniers could that chemistry reach another level? Could Brandon Montour bounce back and be like a 50 to 60 point defenseman? I don't think Vince Dunn is scoring 65 to 70 points again, but can he score 50 plus points? You know?
But again, Phil, you're looking at this, you're looking at these teams. That's Central. Oh my goodness. Like a non-playoff team in that Central. Because you right now they have to leapfrog they'd have to leapfrog just to get into playoff positioning. At least Utah, and they were the sixth best team, and they finished just outside of playoff seedings. Because the Central sent 5 teams to the playoffs last year, and I got no confidence in the Pacific actually sending 4, never mind 5 in. So that's a monster division. I think it's the best one in hockey. We were talking about that last week with St. Louis. So I think Nashville's got a shot at being the worst team in the league, or at least drafting first overall. That's the other thing. So we'll see about that, because hopefully you're able to get a productive player. Speaking of productive players that started to show some promise, how about Kings defenseman Brandt Clarke, who notched 33 points in 78 games last season? Filk, they're thinking he's going to have an expanded role this year, so Brandt Clarke will be a 50-point NHL defenseman.
I'm going to go bold and go round.
All right.
I just think there's so much offensive talent. He was a very, very high draft pick, in his year in 2021, 8th overall. I just think that with some of the departures they have, I do think that his role is going to expand. I don't know if he's going to fully take away the power play time from Drew Doughty, which he seems to be an ageless wonder, still playing like 25 minutes a game at his age. I can't believe that he's still doing that. But he's just – I think Clarke is going to get a lion's share of the power play time at some point. I think they're gonna start looking at this and they're going to start seeing it, and I think that's when he really starts to get the gets the mantle there. I mean, 16, 17 per game last year. I think that might go up. I think he'll also start to score a little more at even strength. The only thing I would wonder about is Anze Kopitar is going to be a year older. This is going to be his age 38 season. But you have guys like Kevin Fiala still in his prime, 29. Adrian Kepe, his prime at 29. Quentin Byfield, I think, should have a better year next year. Alex Laferriere looks like he's coming into his own. Trevor Moore is 30, so he's right in his prime years too. Does Alex Turcotte, does his development, can that increase? Andrei Kuzmenko staying in LA, that's a good thing for them. I do think that there is some sort of room for him to improve, not only at 5-on-5, but if Doughty does miss time and Clarke takes over the number one power play, he takes over at the point. I mean, yeah, I could see that 50 points.
That's a good question. And you know what? I think with that, Filk, I think he's going to fall around that area. I don't think he might just make it. So I got to go beer. I want to be definitive and go, nope, shot. 13 extra points, increasing his ice time. As you said, Doughty is still ageless. So, but if he's going to get more opportunities, his ice time is going to go up. They're ready to hand the keys over to him. Good luck to you, Brandt Clarke. I hope this is another good season for you. But I'm kind of leaning towards. I'm leaning towards, like I said, beer on this one, because I don't think he's just going to have enough to get him there. Guys, but thank you very much for joining us in our Big Apple Hockey Bar Talk, where we gauge our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice to drink. This was this was actually another week where I think this was almost better than the A block. But let's do some pick'ems, Filk. And I made a little intro. I don't think it's the greatest, but let me know what you guys decide.
I've got a gut feeling.
You want me to do two things?
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Now shoot!
Yeah, and the last one, we are who we choose to be, from Spider-Man. Got a cut off right there. But let's do some pick'ems, Filk. And let's start with more points next season, David Pastrnak or Mitch Marner.
I would say I'm going to probably go Mitch Marner here. I just think that David Pastrnak is going to be playing with lesser talent around him in Boston. I still think David Pastrnak is capable of putting up anywhere from 90 to 100 points on his own, but I just think Marner is going to be possibly playing with Jack Eichel, and that's big for Mitch Marner.
See, the thing is, with Pasha, they're going to have to rely on him so much. I mean, he turned in a pretty good season, especially for a guy who was playing on a team that was a real bottom feeder. I don't know what happened to Filk or anybody. Is this still going? What happened? Did we lose people? Okay, I think we got Phil coming back.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, okay, good. I was hoping it wasn't this. All right, but Pastrnak turned in a really good season for a guy that was just on a team that was going lower and lower. 43 points, 63 assists, 106 points. But I think Mitch Marner is going to have something to prove. I think there's going to be a chip on his shoulder, and I think Mitch Marner is going to have the better year. Now let's look over to two more guys that could have either a good year, maybe a great year, Filk. I don't know. But who's going to have a better season next year, Moritz Seider or Keandre Miller?
I'm going to go Moritz Seider. And Keandre Miller for me is too much of a wild card to really say, because he could end up let's just say he ends up playing next to Jacob Slavin. And Slavin makes him look like he's this great young defenseman. I mean, it's possible. But I think that in Detroit, Moritz Seider is younger. I think he's already the better all-around defenseman by leaps and bounds. And I think with their lineup, I think there are guys that are going to help them get to that next level. Like Lucas Raymond, for me, if you want somebody that I think is going to be in the 90 to 100 point range next year, it's Lucas Raymond. Lucas Raymond's going to have a hell of a year. He really is. Alex DeBrincat at 39 goals and 70 points. I expect him to be in the 40s and the 80s in respective categories. Dylan Larkin, 30 goals, 70 points last year. I think those numbers can improve. Patrick Kane, you don't know what you're going to get from him anymore. Maybe he's around the same numbers, whatever. But I think Seider could be a guy that scores 60-plus points with some of those guys. Marco Kasper is going to be a big breakout candidate for me. I love what I saw from him last year. Like, I just think there's so much talent. I think that's a guy that could score 60-plus points this upcoming season.
I've been on the Moritz Seider train for so long. I don't know if I could even get off right here. I'm going to go Moritz Seider. I think he's going to have the better season. He kind of won the Rookie of the Year and then plateaued. There hasn't been that growth. Everybody's been expecting him to be this next level. I'm not even sure. Would you say he's even a top 20 defenseman in the league right now?
There's an argument for it. There definitely is an argument for it. I wouldn't say he's a slam dunk there, but there's an argument for it. The other thing for me that I look at when I look at Seider is the development of somebody who's probably going to be his partner, Simon Edmondson.
Yeah.
Simon Edmondson has turned into a real good, and he was a top prospect for a while, and people were looking at him like he was a disappointment. But he turned a corner this past year. The way that when I would watch Detroit play, he really started to play with a lot of confidence at both ends. And it was like, wow, okay, he's arrived. Edmondson had 31 points in 78 games last year with 7 goals. He was a 6, also funny enough, 6 overall pick, just like Seider. And now I look at Edmondson and I say, hey, you know what? I think the partner's there. And that's another thing. I think Edmondson's emergence is going to allow Seider to get to another level, especially if Seider can if Edmondson and Seider are playing together, that's one of the better pairings in the league, if you ask me. because you have two guys that are 6'5" apiece. Edmonton is 6'6", and are over 200 pounds and can skate like guys half their size. So, but keep Seider away from Sherrod. That's all I would ask in Detroit.
And Filk, you've been hitting the nail on the head with a lot of these discussions about defensemen. The partner matters a lot. And that's the reason why for Adam Fox, look, Ryan Lindgren is one of the reasons why he had success. Ryan Lindgren was also one of the reasons why he was starting to have failures, because Lindgren was just falling apart. So that's physically, and then when they split him up, he just wasn't really right with anybody else. So look, it's not me bashing Keandre Miller. I've been on the Moritz Seider trade for a while. I got to believe in Moritz Seider.
Yeah, sorry. Miller just isn't smart in his own zone. I'm sorry he's not. He loses focus and awareness and position way too much. I mean, Slavin could correct a good portion of that, but you've got to have the smarts to be able to play it, and I just don't think he does.
All right. Filk, let's pick two players out of the four that I'm about to name. More critical contract year. Marty Necas, Jack Eichel, Adrian Kempe, Alex Tuck. Go ahead.
This might surprise some, but I'm going to go Necas over Eichel. I think Eichel is going to get a big contract either way, even if he has kind of a down year, especially after the year that he had this past year. And then for me, I think it's Kempe over Tuck. I just think that with Adrian Kempe, I mean, he needs to have another big year so he can really kind of get that. Jack Eichel finished 5th in Selke voting while scoring 94 points. Like, you've got to be playing a great level of two-way hockey to score that many points and play that high. I think that Eichel's going to be okay. Necas, he had a career year this past year. He's going to have to prove that last year was not a fluke. That start with Carolina was not a fluke. He's going to have to go out there and he's going to have to be close to a point per game to get the contract that he might be looking for. Kempe is, I mean, he's 28. He's going to be 29 in a few weeks. Actually, just about a month from today, he'll be 29. But, you know, he's a guy that's had a 40-goal year 3 years ago now, 35 last year, a 35-goal year in 21-22. Over the last 4 years, he's become one of the more household names in the NHL. He's got to have a big year, because if he doesn't, that contract could be his undoing. But I mean, Alex Tuck is older, and he's 29, and he's had some nice years. I mean, I don't think he replicates that 79-point year from 3 years ago, but it's on Buffalo, and that's the thing. He's playing on a bad team. So I think people will look at him and say, hey, you know what? No matter what his numbers are, he brings you a playoff-style game. He's got that size, that physical edge, and he can score goals, and he's a great skater. So I think teams are going to pay a premium for that, regardless of what the numbers are, unless, like, he really bottoms out or he gets hurt. So I just think Kempe needs to really needs to be on top of his game this year, because that could be the difference between a contract that's closer to $10 million or a contract that's closer to like $7 million.
Originally, when we were talking about this in the green room, guys, I was like, I got 4 names. Let's eliminate 2. And then Filk said, let's pick 2. So let me eliminate one of them, Eichel. Let's get him out of there. I think Eichel's going to have a great year no matter what. You're playing with Mitch Marner, and I think Vegas is going to treat him right. He just had his first 90-point season, and I think he's going to show exactly why you would give him the money. Let's start with that. So I was really torn. There's one guy that's an absolute layup to put in here. It's Marty Necas. Marty Necas went from Carolina, looked pretty good last year, to Colorado, looked good at times, but you're hearing a lot of attitude stuff when it comes to him in some of the tea leaves. And look, you could be a bad teammate that produces, and people can overlook that. You can't be a bad teammate that doesn't produce. You could be a good teammate and have a down year, and not as many people are going to kill you for it. But it's one of those things. Natchez, he's got to produce, because there's been reports of teams that are going after him, like the Bruins. I just don't know. I don't know where this guy wants to land. And at the moment, there's sort of like PLD whispers about him. So you better put up the money, because nobody wants somebody that's a hassle and going to also be a problem and not produce. So you better figure it out. That's him. After that, Filk, I'm very much torn. Adrian Kempe, you look at I think I'm leaning more towards Kempe, but let me just say what you were saying before. Kempe had the 41 goal season 2 years ago, 22-23, but then he went, that's actually 3 seasons ago now. But then he had a 28 goal season, but 75 points, and a 35-38 season for 73 points. Filk, I think Kempe, and he had a great playoff this year. He had 10 points in the 6 games. He was not the reason why LA lost. But with that said about Kempe, I think he can establish himself maybe as an elite player, maybe as a franchise piece. That's why I'm willing to say Kempe. I look over at Tuck. You look at a guy, 36 goals 2 years ago, 36 goals last year, and 22 goal in the middle. Is he more? He's more of a complimentary piece. We all know this, but he could be an elite complimentary piece on a great line with good players. So I think I'd have to go Kempe over Tuck, because if he ends up producing real well, maybe he gets a short-term big money deal next season. We'll see about that. Filk, I wish. Sorry, wait, did you say something?
I don't think it's a short-term deal for him. I think he's getting. If the CBA rule kicks in, I think that. So the max is the max going to be 7 for teams that have the player and 6 for the teams that don't, or is it just going to be a 7 across the board?
I'd have to look that one up.
Yeah, I would have to talk to Steven about that, because I don't know. I never really took a look into that, and that's my fault. I'll take the blame there. But I believe it might. I could be wrong, but I think it might just be 7 across the board. I think that 7 years. I think. Oh, so Anthony is saying it's 7 and 6 now instead of 8 and 7. And you know what? I mean, that's a 6-year deal for Adrian Kempe if he signs outside of LA. Then, so
was that our Anthony? Oh no,
Anthony comments are not our Anthony.
Okay. D. Ely, by the way, was saying, as a Natchez fan, I'm telling you, unless he gets extended before the season starts, he probably will not produce. Both of his contract years have been the worst, and the year after his signing has been his best seasons.
Hey, I don't know. I mean, you're talking about a player that you had in Carolina. It's different now that he's in Colorado. You got to remember, who's he playing with?
Well, you could get points accidentally playing with
Nathan McKinnon
and Kel McCarr. So even at that, that's one thing to just kind of point out. Because I kind of wish we had our Anthony around to ask him about this one. Maybe we'll ask him about it next week.
Ely is well, I'm not going to say anything here, but D. Ely has his connections, and per Slavin and Chatfield, Natchez was always a good teammate. So, I mean, some of these rumblings may not be very accurate.
Okay. Yeah. Well, again, see,
I'll definitely take your word on that, D. Ely.
And yeah, but you hear the rumblings, you wonder about it. So there you go. That's actually real live information right there. So in that case, what's the holdup with Marty Natchez? Because I'm pretty sure Colorado wants to get something done and get something done as fast as possible. Filk, we're going to have this conversation. We wish Anthony was here for this because it's going to have one of his favorite players of all time.
Yeah.
But who is a better all-time New York Islander, John Tavares, Pierre Turgeon, or Pat LaFontaine?
Well, you take a look at the resumes. LaFontaine was there the second longest. He played 8 years with the Islanders. He played 530 games. He had 566 points. Like, his numbers are nothing to sneeze at as an Islander. Like, especially, I would say, his last 4 years as an Islander. His last 4 years as an Islander before the 1991 trade for Turgeon. 303 games, 373 points, and 187 goals.
Ooh.
Those are some doozy numbers. 92, 88, 105, and 85. All 4 of those years are 40-goal years. One of them is a 54-goal year, that 105-point season in 90. So, I mean, he finished 5th in the Hart voting in 1990. So, I mean, his Islander career is nothing to sneeze at. But for me, Tavares is the guy. Like, Tavares helped turn that team around from a complete laughingstock into a somewhat respectable team. Mm-hmm. Like, in 2009, when they drafted him, they were a joke. Who was their captain? Doug Weight? An aging Doug Weight was their captain? I mean...
Yeah, I believe so.
And then Tavares comes along. That draft party at the Coliseum was crazy. I was there with Anthony. And then he comes along and 54 points, 67, 81 in his third year, 47 and 48 games in that lockout year, 66 and only 59 games, 86, almost wins the Hart and the Art Ross in 2015. And then, his numbers kind of go downhill the next 2 years. But his last year as an Islander, his best year, 37 goals, 84 points. I mean, in 9 years on the island, 272 goals, 621 points in 669 games, while turning that team around and being the face of the franchise. For me, it's Tavares. I get the way that everything ended. I understand that. Like, and people, you'll say Tavares did. Okay, fine, fair. But what he did for the franchise is here, and that is like here. So there's a massive gap. And what he did for the team outweighs that exit by a hell of a lot. And one day, I promise you, everything will boil over. He'll be well retired, and they will retire his number. I promise you that it will happen.
Filk, anybody that thinks that this was an easy choice, there were 3 different circumstances for all these players. You had Pat LaFontaine coming in when the Islanders were arguably the best that they were ever in their franchise history. The drive for 5 was his rookie year, coming out of the USA Olympic team that was at Sarajevo, I believe it was, that he ended up going right to the Islanders. Tried to pull a Kenny Morrow, ended up falling short in the Stanley Cup Finals. But he proved that he was a good player. LaFontaine in his career, 530 games with the New York Islanders, 566 points. You look at, let me go to Turgeon first. Turgeon probably went into the situation where they're actually on the upswing, or at least not in the situation Tavares was. Because even though LaFontaine still had Bossy, Trottier, and some of these other guys like Dennis Potvin, there we go, and still the dynasty guys, they were all starting to fade. And LaFontaine got nothing but better as those years went on. Then you make that monumental trade, that 5-player trade to get Benoit Hogue, and there was another guy that went to the Islanders. I'm trying to remember what it was. Great interview of Pierre Turgeon done by Spinning Chicklets. But Turgeon played 255 games for the New York Islanders, Filk. He had 340 points. Yikes. He was nearly 1.4 points per game, top of my head. That's incredible, and especially in that time. But again, you look at, and also you got to think about what might have been. Look, you could say whatever you want. Just watching Pierre Turgeon, the Dale Hunter hit changed a lot of his career. Still a Hall of Famer, changed a lot of his career. Now, but you look at what John Tavares was able to build. Guys, eventually John Tavares and the New York Islanders will have a healing moment. They'll make up on this. This isn't forever. Even Ted Williams, who had a grudge with the Boston faithful, who said he would never tip his cap to them ever again, eventually did when he got older. Time heals all wounds. John Tavares is that next great New York Islander. And sorry, Islander fans, for saying that one accidentally. But it's John Tavares. And eventually 91 will go in the rafters because he was a two-time MVP finalist, Filk. And there were those days where he was everything for the New York Islanders. And he was worth the price of admission. So good for the Islanders to have the success, more success than John Tavares. Good for him to go back home, but now it's going to be left for the history books soon enough. Phil, speaking about the history books, let's go with 4 all-time Selke winners. I want you to tell me you have 1 to pick for your team. Who are you taking? Sergei Fedorov, Anze Kopitar, Patrice Bergeron, or Pavel Datsyuk? Exactly.
Yeah. This is really tough. 3 of the 5 players to score 90 or more points in the same season and win a Selke trophy are on this list right now. In Fedorov, Kopitar, and Datsyuk. Kopitar in 2018, the year that I think he should have won the MVP. Datsyuk did it twice in 08-09. And if not for Ovechkin's 65-goal year and Crosby and Malkin posting 100-point seasons in 09, maybe Datsyuk wins an MVP one of those 2 years. But Fedorov won the Hart. He won the Selke, scored 56 goals and 120 points in 93-94. And that, to me, is one of the best seasons I've ever seen in my life. That level of two-way play. And he did it in a season where Steve Yzerman only played 58 games. He missed a big chunk of that 93-94 season. People forget that. Fedorov was the best player in the world in 93-94. Even in Gretzky's last Art Ross winning year. But I probably, I got to go Fedorov. For me, I know he won only 2, and I know Bergeron won 6, and 6 is the record. I think Bergeron won it in a weaker field. That's what I think. I just think that Fedorov, in addition to being one of the greatest skaters we've ever seen, was a guy that if he wanted to go out there and he wanted to just dominate a game and score 4 or 5 goals, he could do that. If he wanted to go play the position of defense, which he actually did for a bit, he could go do it, and he was successful in doing so. If he wanted to have a game where he'd have 4 or 5 assists, he could do that. I mean, to me, he's also the best playoff player of all 4 of these guys. His playoff runs are unbelievable. Look at his runs in 95, in 96, 97, 98, the years that they won. Fedorov was unbelievable for them. I think it's Fedorov. When you have a guy that's 6'2" and 205 pounds, and he wasn't afraid to throw a check here or there, like, to me, that just he was just on another level. And Anze Kopitar, who I have all the respect in the world for, despite the fact that he killed the Rangers in 2014. I mean, great player. Another guy, 20-point postseasons when they won. I think he led the postseason in scoring both of those years, if I'm correct. And he won he's got 2 Selke trophies. All these guys have multiple Selke trophies. All of them have at least 2. But for me, Bergeron was the guy that won it in a weaker era. Yes, he won 6, but the point totals were never as high. Like the level of two-way play from the offensive end is actually higher in the other 3 guys. So that's for me, I've got to put Bergeron at 4. I've got to put Kopitar at 3, Datsyuk at 2, and Fedorov at 1. Because I don't think there is any player that we will ever see like 94 to 96 Sergei Fedorov. I don't think we'll ever see another player like that ever again.
This is with all due respect to 4 really good players. But
yes.
Yeah, Filk. Absolutely. I think I go Sergei Fedorov.
Ask Wayne Gretzky about Sergei Fedorov and what he has to say. You ever seen the interviews when Wayne Gretzky talks about Sergei Fedorov and how much of a pain in the ass he was in that St. Louis series? Watch the best player that has ever played the game talk about Sergei Fedorov.
Phil, this is a tough one because you look at these guys. Datsyuk is basically mini Fedorov, just with a little bit more flash.
Yes.
Kopitar, Phil, I think Kopitar is going to go down as one of the most underrated NHL players of all time. Like people still don't realize how good this guy was.
Yeah.
And then Bergeron's rated exactly where he needs to be. I'm not going to try to take down Patrice Bergeron in any way.
I'm not. I want to be clear in saying that I'm not. I think the world of Patrice Bergeron.
Yeah.
And he absolutely deserves to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, no questions asked, he should get it. But
yeah.
Anze Kopitar, 440 goals, 1,278 points, 2 Selke trophies, 3 Lady Bings, a Messier Award for whatever it's worth, and 2 Stanley Cups, and just the career he had in the 89 points in 103 playoff games, and he led the playoffs in scoring twice in the 2 years that they won. Like, this guy might be the most underrated player that has ever played the game.
And if you want more proof on this.
Yes, Todd. Yes, 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 and yes.
Yeah. Oh, what's Todd right there? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
A la Barkov, Francis, Oates, one of those guys that just goes out and does his job every night, no matter what the situation is, and handles it in a workman-like way and gets the job done. Like, he's the most underrated player I think I've ever seen in my life.
And
I used to think it was Ron Francis. It is now Anze Kopitar for me.
And I think one of those guys, one of the things that you could say, I'm sorry, Phil, that maybe he underrates him even more. What country is he from? He's from Slovenia.
Slovenia. Yasenis is the name of the country that he is from.
I mean,
from.
If he was Russian, if he was Swedish, Finnish, hell, even Norwegian, I think we talk more about him. But he's the best in his country, and it's not even close.
His country hasn't produced anybody else notable, though. That's
not really anybody of note. So but again, I'm not trying to take down Patrice Bergeron by putting him a little bit less than that. But I mean,
I think there's a lot of recency bias towards guys like Bergeron, but I remember watching Fedorov, and I know, Mark, you do as well.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, I just think that Fedorov, I don't think we will ever see another player like that. For a guy to score 56 goals and 120 points and win the Selke and the MVP in a year where Steve Yzerman missed a significant portion of time. Not only that, but he scored 100 points on that 96 Red Wings team.
Yes.
100 points and won the Selke that year too.
And Phil, just to add this in there, if you remember, there were some questions about Fedorov's toughness when they were the best team in hockey. that I think one of the quotes that was said way back when by Dave Maloney was that Fedorov's going to have to do more than putting himself in the net in order to get past the Colorado Avalanche. In the 95-96 playoffs, he only had 2 goals. 2 goals.
Yeah, but he still had like 20 points.
Still at 20 points. He had 2 goals. What did he do the following season? He ended up getting 20 points, 8 goals, 12 assists in the 20 games, and winning a Stanley Cup. What did he do the year after that? 10 goals, 10 assists, winning another Stanley Cup. And then he's still at 19 points, 5 goals, 14 assists in 01-02, and then ended up going on from there. And
you know what? I think, David, are you asking if I think he's the most underrated player ever across sports or just NHL? I need some clarity on that, my man.
He might be thinking just the NHL, and I would say just the NHL.
I
could be across sports.
Could be across sports for all I know.
Could be across sports.
Yeah, that roster was stupid. 10 Hall of Famers off that roster.
Yeah. And
all those guys you listed outside of Draper are all Hall of Famers. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, actually 11 Hall of Famers on that roster.
Yeah. That was when you just looked at that team, said that's a bust.
Oh, NHL. No, David, NHL, because Slovenia doesn't really have any other notable players from Slovenia outside of Kopitar that I'm aware of. But,
all right. Phil, get ready to have some fun.
Yeah.
Because we're going to do blind rankings. I'm going to give you 10 options. I want you to explain where you put each number as you go through them. So let's start by giving you the category. This is players looking weird in other teams' jerseys. For instance, Joe Namath as a Los Angeles Ram, or Johnny Unitas as a San Diego Charger. There's some of those things that you just look at them and go, that ain't right. That ain't right. So I'm going to give you 10 options, and let's start with the first one. Are you ready?
Go ahead.
All right. We're going to go with Marc Messier, Vancouver Canucks.
How many are you doing? 5 or 10?
10.
9.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. He was there for a while, and it's not like you could say he was either definitively an Oiler or a Ranger. Like, he played a lot of time in both places, so it's you know what? I'm going to put him at 10, actually.
At 10? Okay,
yeah,
wow.
I'm going to put him at 10.
Well, just like when you don't take your hand off a chess piece, Filk, I didn't announce the next one yet, so you're able to change that. All right. Let's go back to the guy we were just talking about, Sergei Fedorov as a Columbus Blue Jacket.
Another one that played for multiple teams, and he wasn't in Columbus for a very long time. So he ended up going. He was traded there in the middle of the 06-07 season, and then I think in the 07-08 season he got dealt to Washington. So I'm going to have to go 9 on this one.
All right. Because also sometimes you get a guy that's just in a certain area, there's a better feel of him there. Him as a Washington Capital, I think he just looked more like a Capital, but that's a different story. And unfortunately, Wade Redden's skate boot thought he looked more like a Capital as well as the game went past him. Anyway, Brian Leach, Boston Bruins.
Ooh. Wow. Again, another one who played on another team. He played only 1 year in Boston. Oh, by the way, I think this guy's YouTube handle is NHL Prof, like for short for professor, or no, NHL PhD. That's what it is. NHL PhD. He does shorts of all-time bear league teams, players who played one season or less for a team, and Leach will qualify for his Boston Bruins team. So I am going to say, actually, Leach was on his Toronto team.
I was going to say Leach for Toronto. I'm not sure about
that. But he only played one season in Boston. So I'm going to go 6.
All right, number 6. Let's go to one of the great all-time Americans, Mike Modano with the Detroit Red Wings.
Ooh, that's a player that played only 1 year, or he played the majority of his career in Dallas / Minnesota, so it was the same franchise. And that was a player that I never thought Dallas was going to let go. I'm going to have to say 5 for him, because that was a shocker. But I think there are some other ones you might have on that list that are going to be higher. So I'm gonna play it safe and say 5. I still have 7 and 8 open, right?
You still have 7 and 8 open, yes.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, Filk, right now I am bringing it with all these guys.
Yeah.
So Matt Sundin, Vancouver Canucks.
I'm gonna have to say 7. For me, Sundin started us as a Nordique, had his career year in '93, and I didn't think Toronto was going to let him go, but I wasn't surprised because the play had started to decline a little bit. Even though he was still close to a point per game player, you could see that he was older and they weren't going anywhere. So I get why they got rid of him, but it was so weird to see a guy that scored 32 goals and 78 points in 74 games they let him go. I didn't understand it. So I'm going to have to say, wait, I have 7 and 8 open, right?
You have 8 open.
I put Sundin at 7.
You
right?
put Sundin at 7, yes.
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep Sundin at. Now you know what? I'm gonna put Sundin at 8. That one, it's like the end of the career. I'm gonna keep 7 open. I'm gonna go Sundin 8.
Yeah, the jersey color's still the same. It's got that blue, so maybe that wasn't so much of a shock. How about Jaromir Jagr as a Calgary Flame?
7. Because I think that with Jagr, it got to the point where he was traveling all over the place. And Calgary was weird. But, I just, at that point, it was all right, where is this tour going? If I could have a mulligan, I'd probably put him at 10 just because, yeah, he played for every team as Gary.
Yeah, he did play for every team. I was trying to go with the most obscure team for him.
You could argue, if you would have said as a Devil, I would have been okay, I watched this guy play on every team in the Atlantic or Metro, whatever you want to call it, except for the Islanders, and then he goes and plays for the Devils. I think the Devils would have been a little weirder, but it was just he was just a hired mercenary at that point, Jagr.
Yeah, because I think him as a Bruin, too close to the Penguins colors. You're used to him as a Ranger, where he had one of his best seasons after post-lockout, probably his best season post-lockout. Then you had, maybe Dallas when he was there. It was a little bit weird, but let's go to the next one. Peter Forsberg, Nashville Predators.
So I have everything south of.
Everything south of, you have.
I have only 1, 2, 3, and 4 left, right?
Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I know 4. He was there for a deadline. 06, 07 deadline. Philadelphia dealt him away. They were trying to bottom out and try to see if they could get Patrick Kane in that draft. They ended up with James Van Riemsdyk instead. But yeah, I gotta go. I gotta go 4. I don't think he was really that weird. He honestly, funny enough, he's probably the best center that they've had in terms of skill.
I think production-wise, maybe Steve Sullivan.
Sullivan produced more, but he was also sometimes a winger. Like there were times where he was a center, and there were the times where he was a winger. He was probably better as a playmaking winger, though.
All right, Phil. Actually, I originally had 11. I took off one of them. I'll mention the last one at the end.
Okay.
Because let's challenge you for the last 3. You only have 3 spots left in that top 3. Martin Brodeur, St. Louis Blues.
1. Never thought that was going to happen. I thought that was so weird that happened. And it was just like, wow. And he was – no, I wouldn't say Korea as a Pred was worse just because his time in Anaheim was done. He was a St. Louis Blue before that. But Brodeur, I knew you were going to have Brodeur in there, and that's why I wanted to say 1 because 1 was definitely – Brodeur was definitely 1 for me.
I think Korea was a Blue a Pred, then a Blue.
Oh, that's right. It was the other way around.
Yeah, it was the other way around.
Right.
Yeah, because Korea was with the Preds when they were really starting to ascend.
But he was also Colorado Avalanche for that 1 year beforehand. That whole after the Anaheim semifinals and the concussion, the finals run and the concussion, they didn't want to bring him back. And he turned Anaheim, and he went to go chase the cup with Teemu in Colorado.
Here's our final 2. Wendell Clark, New York Islanders fisherman.
3.
All right. And number 2, by default, are you ready for it?
Yeah.
Bobby Orr, Chicago Blackhawks.
Oh, yeah, that would definitely be my number 2. Without mulligans, without anything, if I was able to rank them, Bobby Orr would definitely be my 2 because he played with Chicago for that 1 year, and it was only like I think it was like 18 games or something like that. And I think he still had like 15 or 16 points, which is crazy because he was playing on one leg, basically. But yeah, that Bobby Orr would be a good one. Yeah, LaFleur could have made this.
Yeah. Guy LaFleur is a New York Ranger, but then again,
you know what though? I wouldn't have put Guy LaFleur as a New York Ranger. I would have put Guy LaFleur as a Quebec Nordique.
Yeah, okay. Quebec Nordique, that's 1.
That's a big one because that was the rival right there.
Ray Ferraro is a New York Ranger. That's a bit of a shocker.
That wouldn't have weirded me out too much. He played on a lot of different teams. You gotta see, like that's the thing. Like you made this kind of easy for me because you were putting in guys that were playing on a lot of different teams instead of just like guys that were like one team for most of their career and then went to that other team at the very end or something like that. That's why I was holding out for Brodeur because Brodeur, we all hated Brodeur as Ranger fans.
Hey, Filk. And yes,
So did I. Him, Robitaille, and Kovalov in that 96 season.
Okay, yes.
What a line that was.
I was like, Ray, which one? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And again, I still think they messed up their season by trading him. And you could argue it was even weirder seeing Marty McSorley and Yari Curry wearing Ranger jerseys. So that was a little bit strange. I mean, you could also say like Esatika as a Washington Capital. There's another one.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I mean, I wouldn't have had that too high because again, played on multiple teams.
Filk, I gave this one to Anthony a couple weeks ago. We discussed it the other day at the bar. Fictional hockey jerseys. These are just the jerseys, not the players. So let me run these by you. There's 7 choices you have.
Ooh. Can I be right back?
The what?
I'll be right back.
Okay. So there I am, alone, talking to myself. Now that's chaos theory. Guys, we're going to run through, we'll run through this one real quick. We'll do a really quick puck doku and then answer some questions after that. For a show that really didn't have much to talk about today. Right now we're chugging it 2 hours and 4 minutes. Phil, you're back? All right. So, Phil, let's do this. The best fictional hockey jerseys. Let's start with the Chicago Blackhawks, 00 for Clark Griswold.
How many? 5 or 10?
You were choppy on me. I didn't hear you.
How many rankings are we doing? 5 or 10 here?
7.
7. Okay, that's a weird one. I gotta put that somewhere in my top 5. That's tough. Um, 3.
All right, we're going number 3. Let's get right back to Happy Gilmore, number 18, Boston Bruins.
One.
All right. Doug Glatt, number 69.
I'm gonna go 7 because I really don't like the color scheme or the design of the jersey.
All right. Well, a color scheme that you would like, the one that was on Rob Lowe and Peter Zezel, Dean Youngblood, number 10.
Four.
All right. Now, you could go with any of these. The one I gave Anthony, I'm going to stick with. Hansen, number 18, the Charlotte Chiefs in Slapshot.
Charlestown Chiefs, you mean?
Charlestown Chiefs, Slapshot. Oops.
2.
That was Hansen, number 18, Charlestown Chiefs. All right. Got that at 2. Filk, you have 5, and you have number 6 open.
Okay.
So I have one question to ask you, or one request for you. Give me your balls a tug. Shore number 69.
Oh, you mean this right here?
Oh, hold on. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah.
Now, do you do the Letterkenny Irish or do you do the other one?
Yeah. All right. So which one are we doing? Are we doing?
Let's go with the Sudbury one.
Ooh. I have 5 and 6 open.
You have 5 and 6 open.
I'm gonna go 6 just because I don't like the depending on which one. The black one is really good, but the blue one I don't like as much.
And of course, lastly, by default, your number 5 is Charlie Conway with
You know
the,
what? All right. So hold on. District 5 Ducks or the Mighty Ducks?
Oh no, they're the District 5 Ducks.
Okay. District 5 Ducks, I could put that at 5. That's fine then. That's not fine where it is.
Yeah. I mean, we're not doing the Mighty Ducks one where everybody had that they changed jerseys. That there's a video, I know we did it a while ago, but I think I would actually bring it back again, Filk. They changed out of Team USA jerseys. And it's
the
like
USA Hendricks jerseys.
Yeah, the USA Hendricks jerseys to go for the Mighty Ducks jerseys. And like New Jerseys was supposed to like thrill them into winning. I mean, I guess you're a kid. You're just like, yay, New Jersey, great. But still.
Honestly, if you would have put the Hawks jerseys from the Mighty Ducks.
Adam Banks.
An Adam Banks Hawks jersey probably would have went number 1 for me.
Yeah.
I mean,
after all,
those jerseys are sick. Even by today's those are sick.
Didn't Emilio Estevez's character?
I'm not highlighting that comment. Oh my god, I am not highlighting that comment.
Oh boy,
we're not doing this right now.
Oh no, can't do that one. No.
No.
You're telling me Team USA didn't make the. Oh yeah. Well, no, they're fictional hockey jerseys, so I'm not going to put on. I mean, you could have used some people from maybe Mystery Alaska.
Yeah, like John Beebe or Stevie Weeks.
But, I mean, I can't remember what numbers they were. So.
Oh, this is awesome, Jay. This is so awesome. The
That-
boys
that
are
is
asking
awesome.
about you, by the way, Jay. They're asking about you.
All right, Filk, let's do some puck doku, and then we'll take some questions. We'll get out of here. Now, the difference is with no Anthony, Filk, we have a 5-minute timer because
All right.
let's not have it forever. Ready? Well, first, let me start by putting it up there. I don't think I did. There we go. For your x-axis, we have Red Wings, Blues, and Flames. For the y-axis, Flyers, Sabres, and 1,000 points scored in their career. Filk, we are starting it up right now. 5 minutes, go.
All right. Detroit, 1,000 points. I'm going to go Ray Whitney.
Ray Whitney, okay.
Yeah. 1,000 points, St. Louis.
Yeah, I'm thinking of him right now.
Hold on. Doug Waite. Doug
Waite's a good one. Okay. Yeah. Doug Waite is the 3%er.
Ooh,
Calgary Flames.
Calgary Flames, 1,000-point player.
Hero Yager, but that's not it.
No, that's too obvious.
So is Fleury. So is Newendike. So is
Newendike is too obvious. Roberts didn't make it. McInnes is too obvious. Suter didn't make it. Housley is too obvious. Fuck.
Yeah, I know. Might have to come back to this one.
Yeah, go back to it.
Okay, which one should we go to next?
Calgary, Buffalo. Try Bob Bugner.
Bob Bugner, 0.5%. How about Mark Howe for the Flyers and Red Wings?
Too obvious. Way too obvious.
Well, Max Talbot's Cam Talbot, I mean, is even more obvious.
Yeah, again, but Mark Howe is a Hall of Famer that had played long time for both those teams.
Good point.
Calgary and Philadelphia.
And it's Shane Gostisbehere, but that's too obvious. It's too recent.
No. St. Louis and Adam Creighton play for Buffalo.
Yeah, I was thinking Adam Creighton or
Yeah, Adam Creighton for Buffalo and St. Louis.
All right. So Adam Creighton for Buffalo, St. Louis. There's Anthony's Constant Creighton.
And his Constant Crossman for St. Louis and Philadelphia. Actually,
Philadelphia?
Well, Crossman could be either one of those top two.
Either one, yes, because I had him for this one.
Yeah, he's both. He's both.
All right, so we'll wait to see which one we choose for that.
Detroit and Buffalo. Could be Uwe Krupp there.
I love Uwe Krupp, the man that scored the Stanley Cup winning goal. By the way, we're going to have a Uwe Krupp, 1%.
Okay.
We still got 2 minutes.
Calgary and Philadelphia. Did Corey Millen play in Philly? Hold on. I think Corey Millen did play. No, he didn't. Fuck. Played for the Devils.
Not Joel Otto.
Zarley Zalapski.
Zarley Zalapski. That's Philly and
Yeah.
Okay. How about this? Sean Podine, Philadelphia and St. Louis.
So yeah, you could do that. That's a good one.
Sean Podine, 0.5.
Wow, good one.
We got Crossman right here.
Yeah.
We just got to think of 1,000-point scorer for the Calgary Flames. Somebody that we're missing. And not McInnes, not the big boys.
No, none of the big boys in Calgary. Not
Lanny McDonald.
Nothing like that. Not Joe Mullen. So that's, again, too obvious.
And Joe Mullen's probably the least obvious of the guys we're thinking of right now.
Yes, but he's still going to be way too high of a pick.
It's like, do you think about them when they're successful, or do you think about them when they're not at all? Yeah, Mark's
Trying to see if there's a guy that could come in as like a deadline. Gilmore is too obvious. Don't use that.
Brett Hull.
Brett Hull is probably too obvious because everybody knows about the trade and what he became, and that's a household name.
Yeah, that is a household name. So Gilmore, there's a guy we're missing, and that is time right there.
Oh, we missed out on time.
And we missed out on time, so let's just pick somebody.
Well, no, at this point, why not just try to get somebody at that point?
All right, we can try to get somebody. Right now, I am going to
go. In the 90s, they didn't have a lot of them. They haven't had a lot of. There's got to be a guy in there that we're missing. Not Sergei Makarov.
I'm trying to think of anybody that could have been around. I'm even starting to think of going back to the Atlanta days, if anybody could have been there.
That's what I'm trying to see. If there was a guy that was like in there that was in there for like maybe a deadline or something. And in the 90s, after like maybe 94, they weren't getting a lot of big deadline pickups because they were so bad. They were selling off.
Yeah, there's a lot of slim pickings around here.
Housley might be the least obvious one that I can think of.
I would say let's go Phil Housley then.
He was there for a few years though, so I still think he's going to be somewhat obvious, and I think he's going to be in like the 5% range, maybe.
Well, we already got Doug Wade at 3. Let's try to keep it on. Yeah, he's a 3%er, by the way.
Housley?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going with the Flames, obviously McInnes, and actually Phil Housley was on the lower end of the spectrum. He was the lowest. There was nobody lower than him.
3. Wow, Housley was the lowest?
Yeah, and he would have been the lowest for St. Louis as well. Glenn Anderson being there, we could have mentioned him, Rod Brindamore, Joe Mullen, Peter Stastny. Those were where we had our bugaboos. So,
yeah.
But let's do the pyramid. Let's get that in. Oh, shoot. Let's go backwards.
Yeah, but this one would be obvious, though, Dave, because he was the guy that they gave up on to go on and have a great career. So, like Tampa Bay acquiring him was like the big thing.
Dave also texted me Michael Del Zotto, but I think we could have gotten some lower numbers. I think we did too. All right, Phil, anybody that played for the American Hockey League?
Let's go with Chris or Peter Ferraro.
All right, we'll go with Peter Ferraro. I was thinking about famed New York Ranger Ken Jernander. All right, somebody that's played in the American Hockey League with a 10-goal season. How about let's stay with the New York Rangers and do Daniel Gano?
Yeah, do that.
All right. Now they need to play for the American Hockey League, have 100 penalty minutes in a season.
And a 10-goal season. 10 goals a year, 100 penalty minutes, AHL.
I would say don't even overthink it, and let's go Ty Domi, but let's make sure he played. Yes, he played for the Binghamton Rangers.
Yeah, I was about to say Domi was definitely fits that.
And he had 11 goals with the
I just think the 100 penalty minutes is going to be like very obvious.
Okay. There's still others. How about let's see, I'm still thinking of fighters.
No, you don't want to see. That's the thing. You don't want to think of fighters because that's something that they're going to trick you into.
Okay. Because David Clarkson was another guy I was thinking of.
Yeah, well, that would have been a common one because he was a little more of a power forward.
Yeah.
I was thinking of guys who were like not like big time penalty guys that were also like guys that may have had more penalty minutes than you thought of in a season.
See, I don't think I'm thinking right now one player, but I don't think he played in the NHL. He did not. Thought about Pat Verbeek, but that's not the case.
I thought of Todd Marchand because I know he played for the Rangers affiliate, Binghamton, I believe, and he didn't have enough in a season.
All right. Let's see. And it's got to be in a season.
Yeah, no, I know it's got to be in a season. No, it just has to be any. It has the penalty minutes has to be in the NHL. It's just that's. Ooh, could Todd Harvey have been? I know Todd Harvey.
Todd Harvey is a good choice.
I know that for sure.
Because Todd Harvey.
Then Todd Harvey, I'm pretty sure played in the AHL as well. That actually might be the answer.
Todd Harvey, there's 11. He had 11 goal season. Todd Harvey, 136 points.
Yeah, he played in the Cleveland Barons in 2003, 2004, the NHL, the AHL. So yeah, he does fit that.
That's good enough for me. So Todd Harvey.
Yeah.
So, now they need all those things. 10 goals, AHL, 100 penalty minutes of the season, and they had to be a Los Angeles King. You know what? How about? I don't think he ever played.
McSorley's. No, I don't think McSorley played in the AHL. So
yeah, McSorley did not play in the AHL.
Wait, he may have after the Brashear incident. He did. He played with the Baltimore Skipjacks in 1982-83. He played 2 games for them. And then again in 84-85, and then the Nova Scotia Oilers in both 86 and 87.
All right, so let's see how Marty McSorley does for us right here.
He's gonna be very popular. He's gonna be
16 is the uniqueness. The one thing that I talked about with this is that sometimes where the square is, where the guess is, that's where that ends up going.
Stanley Cup winner. He would have been a good one for Stanley Cup winner too.
Yeah, but I think everybody remembered him being a Stanley Cup winner.
Yeah.
Did Rob
Doesn't
Blake
mean he
have
had to
100
win with the LA Kings, though. Could have just been a Stanley Cup winner. Ian LaPerriere, actually, I think would have been a very good one, like David Wood is saying.
Yeah, Ian LaPerriere in that situation would have been a good one, which would have been my mistake. Rob Blake does have a 10 goal season and 125 points, and he won a Stanley Cup with the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah, he has a 20 goal. He has 2 20-goal years, Rob Blake, I believe. I know in 94 he had 20 goals. Bernie Nichols never played for St. Louis.
Bernie Nichols didn't win the Stanley Cup. Bernie Nichols just missed out on the Devils.
Yeah, 94.
Yeah, so technically speaking, I think Bernie Nichols could have been in there.
I don't think Bernie Nichols had the penalty minute requirements in a season.
Well, I'll take a look at that real quick while we're there.
Oh no, he did. He had two seasons of 100 penalty minutes. Wow, that's crazy.
That's why, you know what? That's why you were talking about holding off on that. And yeah, you're right. Come up with some of those answers.
Yeah, that Bernie Nichols would have been a real good one for the Kings then.
All right,
so could have used Marty McSorley, and then I think Ian LaPerriere would have been a guy that we could have used at the top of the pyramid.
So Rob Blake is the answer here?
No, yeah, I guess you could go Rob Blake.
No, I'll go Rob Blake. And still have to try to figure out what? Oh, you got to be kidding me.
Oh, because he didn't play in the AHL. That's right. He didn't play in the AHL.
And now we got to reset this. Oh.
Yeah, right. So go Peter Ferraro.
It's a good thing we're doing this on live.
And then we did Daniel Gano.
Todd Harvey.
Okay.
All right, we'll try to find somebody for the Kings.
No. For the Kings,
do Rob Blake.
No. Let's go Bernie Nichols.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, let's go Nichols.
All right. So Bernie Nichols, Stanley Cup winner, McSorley.
Yeah.
There's no E. Well, there's no E first.
And then
all right. Do you need to score 23? And we just have this to figure out
LaPerriere.
all these plus the St. Louis Blues.
Okay, so hold on. LaPerriere never won a cup. That's the problem.
Yeah.
He was
guy that Neil Smith said he stole from Mike Keenan.
Yari Curry never played for St. Louis.
Correct. Bernie Nichols actually had a nickname.
I don't think Gretzky ever had a 100 penalty minute season.
You got to appreciate the creativity of hockey players. That it's Bernie Nichols. One of his nicknames is Pumper.
The closest Gretzky came to 100 penalty minutes in a season was 59 in 1983. Like, that's crazy. He had 577 career penalty minutes in 1,487 games. It's nuts.
It's hard thinking about actual, like, modern day players, especially when
Glenn Anderson never played for the Kings. Otherwise, that would be a good one. Bob Blake never played for the Blues. I'm
blanking on this one too.
I don't know. I'm stumped here. This is a good one. This is tough.
This is a good one.
All right. They have to be looking towards somebody, and it has to be like a lower, like a depth level player that was like good for both of these teams in their runs.
It might not be anybody that we actually remember.
Did Wells actually play for? I know he played for St. Louis, I believe, at the very end of his career because he was one of those Keenan guys. Yeah, 95, 96.
Got 1,000 games played. He's got over 100 penalty minutes.
Yeah, Jay Wells.
He's got a 10-goal season.
Jay Wells fits it.
Jay Wells, unbelievable. What a thought.
Wow,
and to be honest with you, when you brought it up at the end, wow. Okay, so reviewing the stats, Kyle Clifford is the guy that they were pointing us to, and Steve Duchesne is another guy we should remember. But Jay
Yeah,
Wells,
because he won the O2 Cup with the Red Wings. That's right. He was on that team.
yeah,
And he's a guy that I mean, if you wanted to have a Hall of Very Good, Steve Duchesne would be in that Hall of Very Good. Like he would be,
I remember.
he would probably be the top defenseman in the Hall of Very Good.
How about this one?
227
Peter
goals.
Klima. Peter Klima and John Potvin were there. We went with McSorley in this one. He was a 21%er. Kelly Bushberger was the one that was number one.
Bushberger, yeah.
Yeah. Who did Dan Carcillo win a Stanley Cup with?
Carcillo?
Blackhawks?
Yeah, Chicago.
Okay. Other answers in the other ones, like Ray Ferraro had over 100 points. 100 points
100
and
penalty
played
minutes.
for and 100 penalty minutes.
You want to know a crazy stat about Ray Ferraro? He was a 100 goal scorer in junior.
That is a crazy stat.
That
is a crazy stat.
108 goals and 192 points in 1983-84 for the Brandon Wheat Kings. Unbelievable junior year. And looking at the roster for that team,
yeah,
there's like nobody that I can look at. The only other guy that I can see on this roster that was really like a legitimate NHLer was Ron Hextall.
What year was this?
83-84 Brandon Wheat Kings.
Wow.
The second leading scorer on the team, Cam Plant, only played 2 games with no points for Toronto. The third scorer was Byron Lomau, and he never played in the NHL. The highest level he got to was the IHL and the AHL, which were kind of like competing leagues at that level. Gordon Paddock was an Islanders draft pick, but never played anything higher than the AHL, the IHL. I wonder if this Brent Jessamine is related to Hugh.
All right, guys, we're going to do about another 10 more minutes Q&A. We'll throw up some of your questions, see what we can answer with that one. Kind of a little bit more fun after the A block again. Hopefully we got more stories to go over. But,
yeah, I mean it's tough because right now there's just nothing really like going on. Like
there's just nothing.
We're trying to give you everything we can give you here. It's slow season, people. It's not a lot to talk about. I think I'm gonna do a video on biggest Ranger what ifs. Mark will kind of do it like the same way we did the other video with the number 1 overall draft picks.
Yeah.
We'll do something like that. I'll try to get that out and record that. So
with the what ifs, definitely we'll have like more of an introduction in there, and we'll still have I think I still have the what ifs intro on there. I think your what ifs were always written better than mine. I always have the ones from long ago, Filk. But yeah, let's update those because by the way, I made this comment the other day at the bar. They were like, "Oh, what do you think for Alexei Lafreniere this year?" I think, well, he should get highlights of Jake Gensel and see what he could be. Would that be a fair comparison?
wait, what? I'm sorry, I was looking at
For
something.
Lafreniere, he should try to like emulate Jake Gensel a little bit more. I threw that one out there. I was just kind of,
yeah. I mean, that's a big one.
well, to be fair,
I mean, and it's good because Gensel became a guy that just everybody looked at him like, oh well, he's just a Crosby merchant. He went from that into like a real good player, and he earned his way onto the Four Nations team, and he's one of the better American-born players in the league right now. So, I mean, if Lafreniere can have that type of career, I'll take that run.
Phil, this is a great question from James right here. What do you think is the requirements to have your jersey retired by your team?
You got to be there for a while. I would say in upwards of like 10 years played with the team. You got to have some pretty good numbers, like pretty good scoring numbers. Winning, whether it's, personal accolades, like winning a Norris Trophy or a Hart Trophy or an MVP or an Art Ross Trophy. And I mean, winning a Stanley Cup. I mean, and then what you meant to the team and the community. Like Rod Gilbert was one of the first jerseys retired by this organization. He didn't win a cup. He was about a point per game player career wise. But what he meant to the community was massive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's what you mean to the community first. What do you mean to the team and the organization? Like, I mean, nobody's going to be throwing any parades for what Ilya Kovalchuk and Danny Heatley meant to the Atlanta organization.
Although they're both integral pieces because they really helped get Atlanta off the ground.
However, you can't help but look at this and just go, all right, like take, for instance, what helps a guy like Chris Kreider is that he does have big playoff moments. He does have the game-winning goals. You think about him as being a clutch guy, even though, as we've gone over, he's got his moments of mediocrity as well in big situations. But when it came to playoffs, you always knew who he was. Then he bursted out and became a good regular season player. And that really helped. And let's start that one right there. So I think, and then Kreider really stepped up what he meant to the community. I know a lot of people that really, really love Chris Kreider that knew him through the community. I know people that through the community didn't have a lot of great things to say about him, but not that it had to affect anything any way I thought. So I look at him and go, all right, that's something that would help him. You need that shining moment that you're going to have in the video tribute. And I'm sorry, I'm not retiring 93, regardless of what the stats say.
I'm not either.
It's just not something that I think is worth it. And you know what? I don't think you can retire number 10 either. This is the reason why it's hard when you get organizations that retire numbers and then someone else wears it afterwards. Or where you don't have one that they didn't retire numbers for the longest time. Andy Bathgate was well overdue for his number to be retired. Harry Howell was well overdue for his
Andy
number to be
Bathgate won an MVP, and he
Yeah.
won it during the prime and peak years of players like John Beliveau, or Gordie Howe, Maurice Rocket Richard. Like the guys that he had as competition in his day are all legends, or all like bona fide, like first ballot Hall of Fame legends.
And don't forget, Filk, that was in the day that the New York Rangers did not attract top end talent at all.
No, and those are during the Homestead Rule days. That was 58, 59, I believe that was. And the Homestead Rules weren't broken up completely until like 1969. That was really when the draft was allowed to kind of, because the first few years of the amateur draft, they were still doing, Homestead Rules were basically still in effect. Sponsorships. So once that was gone And once teams like Montreal couldn't buy out an entire junior league, to force a guy like John Beliveau to sign with them, I mean, that's when things became more fair and helped out teams. And then the expansion came in, and that's what we have now is the modern day NHL, the modern era. So that was big for Andy Bethke to win that MVP during that time.
Now, you want to know what the Homestead rules were within a certain area of, I want to say it was like 50-mile radius. Is that what it was? If
I'm not
you're
sure
in a certain area, if you're in a certain area of an NHL team, back in the original 6 days, they had first right to you. And so while the Rangers were out in the cold, they were getting those great prospects from New Jersey and Connecticut, and even, I guess, upstate New York, maybe. And that's not even really much upstate New York. Boston was at an advantage. Chicago was at a disadvantage. Detroit, Toronto, and Montreal had a huge advantage. So that's what that was all about. That's why one of the reasons why when you hear people talk about the original 6 era, the original 6 really wasn't that kind to the New York Rangers.
No, and it wasn't kind to the Boston Bruins either.
Yeah.
The Bruins didn't win during the original 6 era. They won during Eddie Shore and Cooney Weiland's time, and then they didn't win again until Orr came along, and then they didn't win again until 2011.
And a bit of a fallacy about the original 6 eras. Everybody thinks this started all the way back to like 1926. There were still like 12 teams around that time.
No.
Like there was like the New York Americans, the Montreal Maroons, and I believe the Cleveland
original Ottawa Senators.
The original Ottawa Senators. But because of the Great Depression and other factors, every team started going down one by one by one by one. And that's why where you had the 6-team era from, I believe it was 1942 to 1967.
Yeah, 66-67 was the last year that the original 6 was. And then it was 67-68 was the expansion class.
And if you don't believe the Homestead rules had any effect, when was the last time the Toronto Maple Leafs won a Stanley Cup?
1967.
Just kind of saying. Ever since.
And then look at. All right, so then it really after that. I mean, considering that who was it? Sam Pollock was the Montreal GM at the time that screwed Oakland out of Guy Lafleur. I mean, outside of that, and then they're drafting of guys like Robinson and so on. Montreal has not been the same franchise. I mean, outside of their last like dynasty run at the end of the 70s. I mean,
the late 80s, where they were in this, they won the Stanley Cup in 90.
They won in 86 on a crazy run from Patrick Waugh.
Correct, but then they lost in 89 to the Flames.
They lost in 89.
The only time they ever lost on Montreal ice, too.
Yeah, and that was Lanny McDonald with that winner.
Yeah, and then 93, and then since then, tumbleweeds.
Yeah, it's Montreal has not been the same team in the modern era. They had that one run of 4 in a row, and they were not the same after that. They have 2 Stanley Cups afterwards, but they just haven't been the same. And so the Homestead rules, they were real. They just Google them if you want more information. I would suggest Googling them, but it's real. It's real. I'll tell you that right now. And in Detroit managed to be the exception to the rule because 1, they were close to the Canadian border, and 2, they got a hold of 3 guys that really changed things for them. Actually 4, I should say. I mean, it was the production line, which was Apps, Howe, and Lindsay, and then Terry Sawchuk and net.
There you go.
And
let's go with this one from Sean first before we get too far. The how do you think Sullivan will do in his first year? I don't think Drury did enough to make Sully successful. Well, there was slim pickings for Drury to do. So that's for starters on that.
Yeah, they were kind of handcuffed by the cap, and I mean, I don't think there was a lot of great moves that he could have made this offseason. I mean, Gavrikov was the one move where I was like, all right, you know what? You need a guy like that. They needed a guy like that for a while. Yes. But what else were they going to do?
Yeah. There's not many moves that they could make. And I think he's got to restock the cupboard a little bit. So that's another thing that kind of goes into this. Like, another reason why I keep pointing to Zibanejad and Panarin. By the way, we're going to get into that in a second.
Yeah. I think this is not going to help the Carolina Hurricanes at all. He's already got a reputation as being somewhat of a penny pincher with the Hurricanes. Now he's going to focus on an NBA team. I don't think this helps Carolina.
Yeah. I'm not happy about that if I'm a Hurricane fan.
And I'm not happy about that if I'm a Trailblazers fan. You got a guy that's already got a reputation as kind of not wanting to pay players. I mean,
and he was even the head of the AFL for AFL. What was it was the XFL and the AFL, and then they merged.
I think he was the AFL.
I don't think it was the USFL. I think it was
AFL.
Yeah. So that's not good. So, but as far as that goes, I'd be concerned for the Carolina Hurricanes because he's got the reputation of being a penny pincher. As Vitaly's saying right here, do you see Drury extending Panarin, pushing to extend Panarin when he's not really his type of player unless he takes a huge major discount? No.
I guess unless those guys are off the board, I wouldn't. But I don't know. I don't like the idea of bringing back Panarin. That's just me. But yeah, I just think that you kind of know what he is. You know.
Yeah, and it's also what's going to be different. The only thing that's going to be different is he's going to decline. Not that he's yeah, that's a bit of a problem.
Yeah. I can only see it unless it's a big discount. If he wants something like $9 million or something like that, close to like what he's making, then I think the Rangers they'll move on. I think they will. I think it's got to make sense for them. And I think it's going to probably have to make less sense for Panarin unless he really wants to stay there. Because you got to remember, he'll be 35 when that first contract, that first year of that new contract
That's
starts.
the first thing I bring up.
I wouldn't want to be paying that much money for a guy that in 2 years realistically can really hit a wall and start to decline badly. I always point to that age 37 decline. Like Messier started at 37, and it was his decline. Gretzky had his last good year at 37, scoring 90 points on a really bad 97-98 Rangers team.
90 points and 93 points.
90 points that year.
Okay.
It was 97 in 1997, and then it was 90 in 1998.
Which, again, on that team, you're talking about the predominant line mates he played with were Nicholas Sundstrom and John McClain. And the very last month of the year, they put Alexei Kovalev with him. And suddenly he had a great end of the year. But yeah, that 37 line of demarcation is where you should always think about that.
Yeah, I just think that you're looking at a player that's going to decline sometime within the next contract, depending on what term he gets and what that AAV is, and that's a recipe for failure for me. I mean, and I know D. Ely's talking about Dundon spending money, but like really, like what's what big free agent outside of Nikolai Ehlers can you think of that they spent like big time money on?
And even
like,
that, Nikolai Ehlers is a big time money.
Like it's 8.5, and that's not even like massive for like this era. It's not. It's kind of fair for what he is, but it's not massive.
To be fair,
yeah. I mean, I don't. To me, I don't see Dundon as a guy that is willing to go for the big time guys. Like you could probably point to Rantanen, but he didn't want to be there. He just did not want to be there.
There were guys that could own two teams and do it effectively. There were also guys that own two teams, and the second team is an afterthought.
The Pagulas.
The Pagulas. Buffalo Sabres aren't something. Then the second teams run completely through nepotism. How about this? How about the Chicago White Sox and the Chicago Bulls? Jerry Reinsdorf ran the Bulls so effectively, but then, and I'm not as emphatic about Ehlers as everybody else is. And I'm with you.
I don't know if it fits there. That's my issue. Like they Carolina, and I would imagine that anyone who watches them would agree with this. And if you don't, I really don't know what you're watching then at that point. But they love to go low to high. Like their thing is shot quantity, and they like to go to the points a lot. And they
don't care. They don't care about the middle. They just want shot quantity, rebounds. Shot quantity.
And they play the long end analytics game. And to me, that doesn't win. It'll get you regular season success, but you're not winning in the playoffs with that formula. Like, and they haven't. So for me, I don't know if Ehlers fits that.
Yeah.
Two, while it's probably fair, I would have given him like no more than 8.25 to 8.5. That's probably the max I would have went for him. Like, I just don't think he's the difference maker that they need. Like, they need a true top-end score. They needed Rantanen. They needed him. He did not want to be there, and he didn't fit. They needed someone on that level or higher.
Now, by the way, addressing what Romanell is saying right here, that the Yankees have won World Series since the luxury tax. Leagues want parity. Yes, leagues want every team to be competitive, but once you have those new rules, you better do well with your scouting and your development.
The floors need to be higher. I'm sorry, the floors need to be higher. And in all leagues, and baseball is the worst because these guys sit there and they pocket revenue sharing money. And they don't do anything with it.
Well, the poll ads are the worst.
I agree with this to a point, actually, Dealey. I think they play a pretty intense grind down forechecking type game. Maybe they need to be a little more physical, I guess. But the thing that they don't do enough is attack the middle. Like, there are too many times that I can look at over the two series against the Rangers in 22 and 24 where they would pass up opportunities to go to the middle and take shots from the outside. Like, what are you doing? And they had wide open chances to take. Like, I remember a play in the 22 series where Jordan Stahl had the ability to come from the corner with the puck and drive to the middle, and the defense gave him an open lane. And instead, he went to the point for a point shot.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Like, you have that lane. Take it. That's the way they play. And that does not win in the playoffs.
See, but by the way, just to address what Jason's saying right here, it'll be a huge mistake to re-sign Panarin, so that probably means we will. I got to tell you, no, because I think Chris Drury doesn't want to do it.
I don't think Chris Drury really likes Panarin. I don't.
He hates Panarin.
I don't know if he hates him, but I definitely don't think he's the type of guy that he wants around. I think he wants to get away from that. I don't know if you know what. To a point, yes. To a point, yes. His system works in the regular season. It doesn't work in the playoffs when you've played already played 82 to now 84 games like that.
Yeah.
And his goaltending hasn't been good in the playoffs. I don't care what anybody says about Anderson's most recent run. He started off good, but again was eventually exposed. But Brind'Amour, the biggest thing with him is he cannot make adjustments. If his system does not win, if his system cannot beat the other team, he will get outcoached because he cannot make adjustments. And Raleigh treats him like a god because he came in, he went to a Stanley Cup final in his third year there.
Won it
In his fifth, I think that would be fifth or sixth.
Yeah, that's
and then
right.
he won 2 Selke trophies back-to-back in 06 and 07. So yes, he really helped put Raleigh on the map as a hockey city. But as a coach, once his system is exposed, and you find a crack in it, he cannot make the adjustments to outcoach another coach. That's it.
And by the way, it's just to point out what you're saying right here. Once they get past the Metro teams, question is if they get past the Metro teams. 2 teams that they got past that in the last few years, they got past an upstart Devils team, an Islanders team, which was a one and done in the playoffs. We all knew that. Even though I think a couple of us predicted. Yeah, a couple of us predicted that the Islanders would win that series. I didn't, if I recall correctly.
No.
So that was a couple years ago. And then lastly, they didn't get by the Rangers in 2024 because they weren't better than them. The great equalizer in that series, the Rangers were the better team, I thought, in game 1. Overall in game 2, don't get me wrong, Carolina certainly could have won that game. Shoulda, coulda, didn't. You got to get it by Shesterkin. They didn't. And then by the time double overtime happened, you're like, the Rangers are winning this game. Then the Rangers had it. They had the game 3 in the bag, and then they gave up the late goal. I think Svechnikov tied it. And then Panarin wins it in overtime. So now you're 3-0 in a series. Not many teams come back. Try as they might. Carolina nearly pulled it off and forced game 7. But also the classic case of Carolina and also a good case for the Rangers that year. Rangers were resilient and able to come back. But Carolina also, they couldn't close it out. That they always have done that. This has been a problem with this team for a long time. And I don't want to hear the only team they lost to in the last few years, it was either the President's Trophy winner or it was the Stanley Cup the team that went there from the East. Please.
I don't think they were beating Tampa Bay. I think if Tampa Bay would have beaten Florida. I don't think they would have beaten Tampa Bay either. I don't.
Or either one of those.
Carolina has 2 glaring issues that they have not solved in many, many years. One is bad goaltending, and the other is poor center depth. You're not going to win with Jordan Staal as your number 2 center, or Jesperi Kotkaniemi. I don't care who it is. They do not have a good number 2 center. Yeah. And if people are going to point to Seth Jarvis as a center, I think he's better as a winger. I'm sorry, but there's no center depth there.
All right, because look at what this is. If you play we were so close, we just needed to figure out what to do. Then you're the New York Rangers last year, and you get complacent, and you're not the Florida Panthers of 3 years ago, the Detroit Red Wings of '96 that won the most games in NHL history. And were bounced in 6 games in the conference finals to the Colorado Avalanche, who, by the way, I have another then and now coming out very soon with them. But it's stuff like that you have to point to and go, do you have the balls to make the decision to change the team? I don't think – I think Carolina develops a very good regular season team. They don't develop a good postseason team. They had it 2 years ago, and they still lost.
Yeah. Yeah,
last year.
I think that the way they build that team is just flawed. He's really a number 4 seed. They don't have a true third line. You're right about that. They don't have a true second line either.
I wish I had our resident Canes fan Puck with me right now because he would probably tell you the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, Pete would absolutely say the same thing. I would put good money that he'd probably say the same thing. I've talked to Pete about this, like off air, and
this is
we've
a
been in
team
agreement on a lot of things.
Phil, this is a team that should have blown right past the Rangers in 21-22 at the second round. It shouldn't have been that close of a series. Instead, it turned into a home game series, and you had home ice for game 7.
That's another thing. They cannot win on the road in the playoffs. They're not a good road team. When they have that last change and they get the matchups they want, yeah, they're good. But when they don't have that, man, do they struggle?
Yeah. And again, that's very bad. You can't have a team that can't. The great teams, honestly enough, the weird thing is the ones that do perform on the road and have trouble at home are usually the better teams.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of those. There's a ton of them.
2011 Boston Bruins, the team that couldn't score on the power play.
Yeah. But they were able to play a great 5-on-5. And that was a team that you want to talk about guts? How about the 2011 Boston Bruins? Let's go with that. They went down 3-2. I think they lost game 5 in overtime. I want to say it was an Alex Burrows goal, if I'm correct. I might be confused that with game 2, Filk. I'm sorry if that's the case. Somebody wants to look that up for me. But then, so what happens? You're down 3-2 in a series. They blow the doors off the Vancouver Canucks the rest of the way. I believe it was 8-1 in game 6 and 4-0 in game 7 in their building.
Game 7 was brutal. Oh, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's why it's like, it's where you have to just say stuff like your character. Adversity shows character. We all know this. And that's the thing. When you get there at the end, what do you really show? And I'll give more credit. Phil, go ahead.
All right. So game 1 was a 1-0 win for Vancouver. Game 2 was a 3-2 overtime winner.
That was probably the Burrows winner.
Yeah, and then that was the Burrows winner. And then game 3 was the 8-1 drubbing. Game 4 was a 4-0 shutout. Game 5 was a 1-0 shutout for Vancouver. Game 6 was a 5-2 win, and then game 7 was a 4-0 win. After that, game 5, man, Boston took over that series big time.
Right. And by the way, it was 5-2 in game 6, but it's still, that might have been just 100-1. Maxim Lapierre is the guy that scored the only goal in game 5. And
yeah,
instead of folding up, Boston regrouped. And that game, like I said before, that game, it wasn't even close. Boston was up 4-0. Vancouver made it 4-1. Boston quickly went back up. And so I'm sorry, it wasn't the 12-1. I mixed the wrong game in there, but still 9-2 in your final 2 games. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, I think you're being way too optimistic here with Ryan Suzuki. Like, this guy's 24 years old and he's played 2 total games in the NHL, and they were this past season. Like, he was a first rounder in 2019. If he turns into a bottom 6 player, I think you got to be happy with that. A good number 2 center, man. I've seen late bloomers before, but I'm not really high on Ryan Suzuki becoming a top 6 center.
Well, let's go with what his thinking is. Is he just not a fit for the Canes? Is that a possibility?
He had one great year in the AHL, which was this past year. I wouldn't even say great. I would say very good year. 12 goals and 59 points in 69 games. He was an AHL All-Star this year. But
12 goals in 69 games is not going to light up the.
Yeah, I mean, his career high is 14 goals in 51 games. He's never been a big goal scorer. Even in junior, his highest year was a 25-goal year in junior. Like, this is not a guy that's got a great shot. Like, you could talk about injuries all you want, but at some point, you've got to step up and be that guy. Like, Ryan Suzuki has not shown any signs of being that guy. Like, he's closer to a draft bust than he ever will be a second line center. If that ends up happening, great, but the chances of it are minimal at this point. Like, close, slim to none. So I would not be that positive about Ryan Suzuki being a second line center one day. If you were to tell me that he could be maybe a fourth line center for them, maybe I could buy that. But again, 24 going on 25. He turned 24 in May, sorry. And he hasn't. I don't know about that. You can't really say that because Jack Drury's the guy playing in the NHL.
Yeah.
And Ryan Suzuki is not.
Jack Drury
Like,
is one of the more underrated bottom six centers.
Like, at some point, we've got to take a look at the objective numbers and statistics over that. And Jack Drury's been the guy that's sitting there. And you want to say Nepo baby or whatever? Yeah, I while I get why people would say that, like, if Suzuki was that great, he would be in the NHL. And he would have been a guy that would have established himself as an NHLer. Jack Drury has played 186 NHL games because Jack Drury, like guys like Pandolfo and Madden, like those guys were guys that were scorers in college and realized that they weren't going to be able to score at the NHL level. So they changed their game. Jack Drury changed his game and turned out to be a decent bottom six forward.
There's a lot of guys that's done that in the history of the league. Jay Pandolfo comes to mind.
I said Pandolfo.
Motherfucker.
I said Madden and Pandolfo.
Sorry about that. I was texting my beautiful wife.
Yeah, that Pandolfo was a massive scorer at Boston when he was younger in college. I mean, just guys that were like. I mean,
and keep in mind, Pandolfo played on Boston University at the same time as Chris Drury.
Yeah. I mean, it's just you look at those guys and you look at their, like John Madden, again, was a big time scorer in college. He was there. He was there around the same time that Chris Drury was. You're right. Yeah, that last year, 38 goals and 67 points. I mean, he had 2 40-point seasons before Chris Drury even came along, and that's pretty good. He was a point per game guy before Drury was ever there. You want to hear an even more obscure name that was like a decent bottom six player that had a massive year in college, or actually had 2 pretty damn good years. One very good year and then one unbelievable year. Tony Herkus.
Okay, yeah.
116 points for the 1987 Fighting Sioux, North Dakota. I'm sorry. I get that you watch them, but if Suzuki was that good and could play at the NHL level in a bottom six role, I think he'd been up already.
But again,
I don't see him as that guy. I don't.
But again, if Brindamore is not seeing him and not giving him a chance, that means he's not going to do it with Carolina. That's the other factor. If the organization is not pressing to get him in, he can go elsewhere. Maybe he succeeds elsewhere.
And here's the thing: they wasted a first-round pick on him. Like if they thought he was that guy, don't you think that they would be doing more to get him in that lineup? For me, I mean, sure, you could say zero offensive upside, but there's no. But he's the guy that's at the NHL level, and he's also doing it for another team on top of that.
Yeah. By the way, Chris Drury in 1996, that year is famous for the Travis Roy incident. By the way, which I've read the book 11 Seconds numerous times. First off, the fact that I could say that I read a book multiple times is still a good thing. But Pandolfo had 67 points, tying Chris Drury. One of those guys went on to have a very good NHL career. The other one was and Pandolfo was a winner as well. So, I'm
not saying Jack Drury is a great player by any means. What I'm saying is that Jack Drury does what needs to be done and asked of him to stick around because he can't score like he did at lower levels. Ryan Suzuki doesn't seem to do that for Rod Brindamore. And unless he something drastically changes with him this year, he's going to bust out completely. And that's what I'm getting at. You literally just said what I've been saying.
Exactly. That's where we're going with
and that's why he's here and Nick Suzuki is not, because Nick Suzuki is not a very good bottom six type player. And he's probably not good enough offensively to be a top six guy. Look at Marcel Hossa. Remember Marcel Hossa? And Marcel Hossa was the biggest tweener I've seen in the salary cap era. He wasn't good enough to be that top six guy offensively. But he was good enough to be at the NHL level in a lower role in a bottom six, but he wasn't a defensive player. And this is back when bottom two lines were stereotypically checking lines outside of Buffalo at three scoring lines. Buffalo in 06 and 05 and 06 and 06, 07 had three scoring lines, and then they had an energy fourth line that would go out and just fight and crash and hit everybody. But Jack Drury fits that. Ryan Suzuki doesn't seem to fit that.
And again, where you're mentioning with Marcel Hossa and that, if you're a young player and you're playing sound defensively, doesn't have to be great, sound, then you will always have a spot in the lineup. Every sport, however you want to do it, baseball especially, they will find a place to put your glove. They will not do the same thing if you can't hit a lick. Sorry, if you can't field a lick, but you could hit. There's only so many DH spots. The ball will find you, is the way it's always said. Hockey, same thing, because you can't be a defensive liability. That's why, watch out, Ivan Devanov, because if you keep doing moments like you had last year when you came up.
I think Devanov is way too talented offensively. I don't think he falls into that. I look at someone like Joshua Hosang, who had excellent talent. Was there were people who thought, Don Cherry thought he would have a better career than Connor McDavid at one point when they were at the 12, 13-year-old stage. And they were
do you know who said that all the time? A matter of fact, said he was the most talented player in that draft. Josh Hosang.
Yeah. I mean, Hosang had a bad attitude, but he had amazing hands, was by all rights, there were flashes when he came up with the Islanders for that brief while. You thought that maybe one day he could be that scorer, but he did not want to play defense. He had a terrible attitude. Showed up late for training camp at his first training camp. Hosang was talented. Yep. He didn't play a team game, and that's why I think Ryan Suzuki is probably not going to make it.
And it's also the reason why Hosang didn't really get a second chance in the NHL.
Top six center. I'm sorry. I think maybe Ryan Suzuki becomes maybe a fourth liner or something. But I don't see him as a top six center. I think at 24 years old, I think you know what he is. This is not a spring chicken anymore.
Nick Antropov was another one.
Yeah, Antropov was another one who couldn't play defense. He was also not a great skater. During the pre-cap when he was young, he could come up and he could get away with it because back then it was the water skiing and the interference, the two-line pass rule. I mean, yeah, he had some really good seasons in the salary cap era, but as the turn of the last decade came, speed started increasing and Antropov got left behind.
Yeah. Absolutely. And
was another one who didn't develop because he was not a good skater. He had very good hands, a good shot. I mean, I think his most notable thing in the NHL is getting destroyed by Jacob Trouba.
Yeah, basically. I mean, you got that. And was he the guy in Montreal that got destroyed by Jacob Trouba last year?
No, he was the Islander. And then Pajot tried to fight him.
Yeah, and then Trouba got destroyed by Matt Martin. So that's how that goes. All right, guys, I'm going to start up the song right now. We'll get a couple. We have a couple more minutes of more hockey talk for you guys. But got a lot more that's going to be coming out at you next couple weeks. Though I can't wait going to Alaska end of the month. So
2-line pass was a way to slow down guys like Gretzky. They had to do everything they could to slow down Gretzky. That was a David Poile thing.
was that started in the 80s?
Yeah. It was David Poile. They were trying. They tried to. They brought that in, and then they did the coincidental minors being a 5-on-5 to stop the Oilers from taking penalties to go 4-on-4 and get Gretzky out there because Sather was taking advantage of that.
Not for nothing when you have the best player in the game to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and you
Especially
had
when they
some,
got-
and you know what? And when they needed a goal and they wanted Gretzky, see you later, Jay. Love you too, brother. Be good. But it's you take every advantage you get. Yeah, he was the ultimate game changer. That's the way you can really. When you start making rules to try to slow a player like that down, you know that you're dominant. Who are you asking? Ryan Suzuki or Nail Yakupov? Nail Yakupov is
Yakupov's got him.
right now.
Already.
Yakupov. I don't know if Ryan Suzuki will ever be up in the NHL on a regular basis. Maybe.
And I
next
know what
year.
you're also saying. Like, who's a bigger disappointment? Yakupov going number one. Yakupov actually had a good first season, generated some buzz,
there.
and then after that, yeah. Because again, to quote Herb Brooks at his best, you don't have enough talent to win on talent alone. So that's why everybody needs to work. One of the greatest lines said about any athlete ever is Matt Cohen was asked, what makes Sidney Crosby so good? He said he's got the talent of a Hall of Famer and the work ethic of a fourth liner trying to make the team.
Yeah. And all like for me, like you know how I talked about how like Fedorov, like if he wanted to go out there and have like a 5-goal game, he could, and then the next night he could put up, 4 assists, and the next night he could play defense. Sidney Crosby was that same way. Sidney Crosby was a guy that I remember him like working on his face-offs, and then the next year he was like, okay, let me see if I could score 50 goals, and scores 50 goals and co-wins a Rocket Richard with Stamkos in 2009, 2010. I mean, like McDavid.
McDavid the same way as Crosby.
120 points, wins, I think, his third Hart Ross or fourth Hart Ross at that point. And then 2023, he's like, okay, I'm going to score a bunch of goals. What does he do? Scores over 60 goals and 150 points in a season. And you're like, what can this guy not do? The great ones always find a way to improve at something every year. And that's what makes Crosby and McDavid so damn great.
All right, Rich, have a good one.
Yeah.
And I saw your post. I made sure I commented on that last week.
Yeah, I think. I mean, it depends on what happens this year, Frank. I don't. We got to really kind of take a wait and see approach on that.
Agreed. And me personally, I think enough of the Alexei Lafreniere experiment everywhere else. He's number 1 overall draft pick. Play him the way he's supposed to be played. Work with him. Figure it out. Because the Rangers have to know that it's beyond time. And it was stupid to treat him like this to begin with anyway. But he went into an organization that had their country club mentality. And now it's it. All right, boys, we're wrapping it up right here. Everybody, thank you very much for joining us. Look for more shorts coming out this week. And also look for Filk's video that he was mentioning. I will talk to you soon. And have a good one. Filk, last word.
55 days.
Damn right.